Oh my God.
And everybody agrees. They'd all drive it. If it was their wife's car, hey, can I take I'm taking your car to Publix.
Right, but they would drive it, yeah.
Yeah, but they wouldn't own it.
Ugh, whatever, man. She drives a Jeep too, so
she outcars you?
it's an old Jeep.
Then she definitely outcars you.
Definitely outcars you.
It's got a hard top, so you can like sit on the roof and stuff.
I went 1-4 this week, and you went 0
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know.
Oh, you went 0.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was nice of the Chiefs for me. I really thought when they were up 27-0 that I'd get a win out of that.
Worked out really well for me because I had Judy on my DFS team.
There you go.
How does Vegas know? Lions, Vikings. How do they know?
I just crunched their numbers.
True. After all, the Vikings do have the second best record in the NFL and have a -1 point differential.
Yep.
That's so hilarious.
What do we got here?
20 seconds.
Good morning, Johnny Fingerlegs and Rough Tough. I hear you. Wancho, KW, Johnny Mac, Adam.
Here we go. 5 seconds.
Adam, you can't tweet about the Jags,
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the Monday morning to you as we're less than 2 weeks away from Christmas, a week away from Hanukkah, and we ask the question, how the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. I come at you from Phoenix, from the Phoenician, which is set right up against the mountains on both sides. Beautiful golf course. No idea what I'm doing here. I've got you know what, Mark? I have the yips just sitting in this very big hotel room, worse than 2 ahead last night.
I was going to say, if you've got the yips, maybe you could play quarterback for the Dolphins.
Wee. What a difference 10 days make, huh? Man, oh man. Good thing they put that game in prime time. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. NFL Network might be reconsidering putting them in prime time this Saturday also. Oh boy. Wow. But anyway, we'll get to that in a moment. How the heck are you? How was your weekend?
Fantastic. Really good weekend. Had a lot of fun. A lot of family time, a lot of family events. So we had a terrific weekend until Sunday came, and then we just locked into football.
Well, let's go back to Saturday, shall we? You threw that party just for kids, though, right?
Well,
families?
Like you were upset. I found out that you were upset you didn't get an invitation.
I wasn't. I was just busting.
And,
I realized once you leave the 239, you stop getting invitations. I understand that's how that works.
But yeah, we've had this for a few years now where we only invite people who have kids because there are a lot of Christmas parties. And that means you have to get babysitters and a lot of things that you have to do. So the wife will have some crafts for the kids and obviously food and drink for the kids and things like that. So we have a little soiree every year around Christmas time.
If we were still in the 239 because our kid is 25, would we have gotten an invite or no? Do we not qualify?
You don't qualify. You didn't get one any of the last few years when we had this.
I was going to say I wasn't even aware. But then again, I mean, let's face it. I because of my schedule during football season, I don't think about any of these things. And the few people that I'm close with, they don't think of me either. They're like, "No, Moulton's gone for 4 months. We'll check back in January and see if he's available."
Exactly. So, yeah, had that on Saturday. Went over to got invited to someone's house on Friday night for a little family thing of watching movies outside.
Man, if everybody's listening, think about, first off, invited by another couple to come over the house, and then an event in which multiple couples and their kids come over your house. My goodness. I mean, let's see. I don't think I'll be 57 in a week. I don't think that that's happened to us since I was in my mid 30s. That's a full weekend right there of social time.
Oh, absolutely. You throw a soccer game in there in the middle of Saturday morning, too. It was
Oh,
nonstop for the Miller family.
my goodness. Man, oh man, that's a lot of people's names you have to know. That's hard.
I give
There,
my wife the ultimate credit with soccer. She started this a few years back with the youth sports. She will literally, in the notes on her phone, put the team, the girls' names that are on the team, and then usually try to put the parents' names by the girls so that
oh
we
my
can keep
goodness.
track of all of this.
That's Heisman Trophy caliber right there. That's amazing.
Honey,
I
get
mean,
the notes out. What's number 13's name and who's her dad?
I just look right at people and go, "Listen, I'm sorry, I'm bad with names. Now, if you put a jersey on you, I'll remember you forever. But until then, it's just nice to meet you."
Maybe we should take back that Miller and Moulton rule then of over the jerseys past 25. Maybe we need everybody wearing jerseys so you and I are better with names.
Well, the problem is they don't wear their own jerseys. I don't need you walking into a Dolphins, showing up and you got Marino on the back of your jersey. That's not going to do me any good.
A lot of those in SoFi last night.
Whoo-wee. Man, it was a hell of a Sunday for the Bucks and Dolphins. It was a hell of a Sunday. Man, oh man. They went out west, and even though the final margin was 6, they both got their butts kicked.
They really did.
I mean, the Dolphins defense rope-a-doped and, kind of sort of kept them in the game, and they did keep them in the game. I mean, if Tua could have hit the broadside of a barn, he probably could win the darn game. Boy, this is concerning. One game, pressure, line breaks down, hits, okay. Now, woo-wee. I mean, it was Herbert who was under more pressure than Tua.
And he was great.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. That's what a franchise quarterback does. In an absolute must-win game, you put your team on your back, and it doesn't matter the circumstances, and your tackles are out, and they're all over you, and, one of your 2 receivers is out, and 4 starters on defense are out, so they might be vulnerable, so you're going to have to keep the ball, move the ball, score some points. And he just said, just give me the damn ball. Will you please get out of the way? I'll let you know how this turns out around 11:30.
One team looked like a playoff team last night, and it was not the Miami Dolphins.
What really concerns me is there comes a time where you have to match the other team's urgency. And how they didn't know that game was the Chargers season, I mean, you got your butts handed to you by the Niners, even though you were within 6, 10 minutes to go in the game. I get it, but they were taking it to you. All right. And sure enough, I mean, they're undermanned, the whole deal. I mean, you should be taking this game to them. And while the defense put a lot of pressure on Herbert, oh boy. Because now you're going to go to Buffalo and lose, and now you're 8-6, and now you're just scratching and clawing just to make the playoffs. I mean, let's be honest. Right now, this team is no different than the Ryan Tannehill team from 4 or 5 years ago that got in the playoffs at 10-6. I mean, are they?
Well, I think they're different because the speed of this team, and I understand the point that you're making, David, but the speed of this team is so scary that I think you can turn a light switch on and off with this team and their offense can come back. But they can't block. They had a bad game plan last night. They kept throwing the ball over the middle, and it wasn't there for them. So there wasn't anything about that from an offensive standpoint that looked good last night. But they have always been putting Hill in all kinds of motion to get him away from getting chucked at the line. Last night, they didn't put him in as much motion, and he got beat up at the line of scrimmage all night long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a problem. Now they've got what? After they lose in Buffalo and they go to 8-6, they got Green Bay at home, which now becomes just a massive game for the Dolphins. Then they go to New England, and then home for the Jets. And that, I mean, Mark, hell, at this point, that last game could be the NBC game. That could be winners in, losers out at this point. But, whew, man. Looking at this team very differently 9-10 days later. Very differently.
And as you mentioned, their defense for 2 weeks has played well enough to win football games.
Totally. With 10 minutes to go in each game, if the offense had had an average performance, they'd have the lead. Yes. But the injuries they have on defense and what have you was a ridiculous roughing the passing call last night. Wow.
They ended up getting out the next series, so it didn't end up doing anything. It was one of the worst calls I've saw the week, but it ended up not affecting anything. So
No, I know. Just cost some little time on the clock.
But who cares? They weren't going to do anything with it anyway.
Well, exactly. Tua's going to throw a couple into the ground anyway. So, what's the difference? And then the Bucks. Oh, do you know there's a part of me, Mark, that is now a little bummed that the Bucks pulled victory from the jaws of defeat on Monday, because if New Orleans had held on and won that game, the entire NFC South would be 5-8. And I think that division deserves really all four teams to be 5-8.
Because the Carolina Panthers hold their own fate.
Yes, they do. They have a best division record, and they've already beaten the Bucks. So, Carolina at 5-8 sitting there going, phew. This division's ours, baby. Say that out loud. The 5-8 Carolina Panthers with 4 games left are like, this is our division, man. Remember when we asked why is it Seattle was only a 3.5-point favorite at home against Carolina?
Mm-hmm.
Now, on Friday, I think we were both unaware, because it didn't happen until yesterday morning, that Seattle would be without both their running backs. I really wish I had known that before I bet Seattle -3.5. I got to be honest. It's as if Vegas had inside information or something. So, hell of a day. Hell of a day yesterday. And by the way, if you're a quarterback, there's a good chance you got hurt yesterday. Whoo-wee.
Rough day in the National Football League. And some of the teams that are supposed to do what they're supposed to get it done, although not without a little discomfort around the league, as Kansas City blew a huge lead but would still win. Dallas.
Wow.
Holy cow.
Wow.
Buffalo and the Jets beat up on each other for long periods of time before the Bills finally took control of that game.
That was a classic bad weather game. Miller and Moulton. I'm in Phoenix getting ready for Monday Night Football. Huge game for the Patriots. Huge game for the Patriots, who are 6-6 and a 1.5-point favorite against the Cardinals. But that's much later tonight.
We'll talk about the disaster was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the other side as Brock Purdy getting it done against Tom Brady. We're Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So do we think that the Niners are legitimate Super Bowl contenders? Because if so, if they end up winning the Super Bowl, this Brock Purdy story might be one of the best things I've ever seen. Did you see his parents during that game yesterday?
I did.
That was beautiful. He beat Tom Brady's ass.
He didn't beat Tom Brady's ass.
Well, yeah, their defense did, obviously.
I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how bad? Because they're saying Debo's ankle isn't that bad. So
I thought it was his knee.
It's his ankle.
Oh. Yeah, I don't think it's season ending, but that had me scared. I like Debo. Yeah, the 49ers are really good.
I thought Milano killed Mike White.
Oh my God, that hit was bad.
I thought he killed him. I thought he broke him in half. It was such a beautiful hit. Textbook.
We were watching it at my grandparents' house, and the kids were at the living room, and then the adults were in the bar, and the games were on at the same time, and we all collectively went, "Ooh!" My grandma grimaced.
we could have two teams win divisions with less than 500 records.
You're worried about the Titans?
Well, just play the schedule game with me. They're at the Chargers this week.
Mm-hmm.
They're home for the Texans. They play the Cowboys.
The Texans should be a win. That gets them to 8.
Right. Then they're playing at the Jags to go over 500 last weekend of the season.
Mm.
mean, that would be fascinating.
By the way, you were talking about the bad weather in the Buffalo game. Did Tyler Bass miss a kick?
What do you mean?
Like I think he made all his kicks.
Okay.
I don't know. That impresses me to do that in Buffalo this time of the year. Also, no, that's not a field goal. That's just a Harry Kane penalty kick.
By the way, on the 2 plays that Mike White got knocked out of the game for, he completed passes on both of them. Downfield, too. We haven't even gotten into the World Cup. Don't encourage Adam. He's given up on the Jags twice this year. He's worse than Felipe with the Jags this year. Don't encourage him.
Don't listen to David, Adam.
Oh, Adam, don't get me wrong. We love you. Love you. But you have to admit, you have thrown in the towel twice this year.
Well, it's thrown in. They're done.
Right. But he said he was done with them. Done talking about them.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Top of the morning to you. Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. Thanks for starting your week off with us. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. I'm in Phoenix. Monday Night Football, a game that has a great deal of meaning to the Dolphins and to the AFC. The 6-6 Patriots, with a win tonight, actually move into the 7 seed because of their superior conference record to the Chargers and Jets. Right now, the Chargers, with the win over the Dolphins, are the 7 seed. Jets are on the outside looking in. But the Patriots, with a win tonight, they jump into the 7 hole. And the Dolphins are tenuously in the 6 hole right now. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Mark back in the cozy confines of the 239. Warm weather goes away midweek, right?
That's what I'm hearing. I'll figure it out when I get up in the morning and walk outside, David.
See, I'm trying to see. I know that's how you operate. You wake up one morning, you walk outside, you and the dog at the same time go, damn! All right. And I'm trying to just plant it in the back of your mind. By about Wednesday morning, you need to be careful.
I've heard.
Right.
I've heard winter's coming.
Right. 3 days in the 50s, correct? Mark, do you know how close the Bucs are to being 4-9?
Extremely.
I mean,
extremely close.
I mean, Tom Brady pulled victory from the jaws of defeat twice this year in the final minute at home against the Rams and the Saints. Games they did not deserve to win. I mean, they're a bad football team right now, and they're in first.
I'm glad you described them that way, because it was the only thing that I could continually think of watching them on Sundays. Like, this is a bad football team.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's lots of traits to a bad football team. You could just be Houston Texans. You don't have a lot of talent. You're bad. But this is why, and I was in favor of Bowles getting the shot. I thought he had put in his time. I didn't think he was a disaster with the Jets at all. They only had one good year out of 4 of quarterback play. Surprise, surprise. That was the year he won 10 games. And in the other seasons, they won around 6 or 7. And I thought, well, at least he'll get good quarterback play this time around. But, Mark, when teams week to week, you don't know what you're going to get, that's the sign of a bad team. I mean, you've been around 24 teams in which if a team can, put up losses in the standings, but if they're giving you a good effort, game after game after game, it's like, well, okay, this will even out. Do you know what you're getting for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers every time they show up?
No idea.
None.
And what seems to be worse is that they don't know.
No. Remember, they've had 2 players-only meetings in the last month.
Right. They just had their big defensive meeting a couple of weeks ago to get that group back together.
Right.
35. The third-string quarterback and company roped up 35 on you.
Yeah. By the way, we are going to do a sidebar on Brock Purdy at some point. All right. But right now we just want to dump on the Bucs. Back to the Bucs, already in progress. Well, they're losing this week to the Bengals. All right. Let's just get that straight right now. So they're 6-8 moving forward, just like the Dolphins are losing this week in Buffalo. They're 8-6 moving forward. I mean, when you talk about these 2 teams, you got to put an L on them this coming weekend. They ain't winning. They're not winning. I mean, come on. If the Dolphins' offense and Tua are going to look this bad back-to-back weeks when the weather is pristine, right, we're going to throw the Hawaiian in Buffalo in mid-December. Hello. And the Bengals have won 5 in a row, and the Bengals are looking like a mature team again.
And a physical team again.
Right.
And right now, physical teams in the line of scrimmage will own the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And at this stage of their careers, Cincinnati is the better quarterback.
Brady threw a pass to Evans that was so bad. It should have been a touchdown. And he underthrew him by 2-3 yards on what was a pretty easy ball for an NFL quarterback to make that throw. That's the other part of this. Whether it's the continuous pressure from the inside, whether it's the age, whether it's the frustration, whatever it may be, he's bad right now.
Well, he definitely has lost the touch on his deep ball. We've seen that now for weeks, where the ball more times than not is either 3 yards underthrown or 3 yards overthrown. That he just, and Tom historically has been one of the better deep ball throwers. And not because he has a huge arm, but just the timing and the ball is usually there. And this year it's been missed more times than not. I don't know if the game's a whole lot different if the first quarter touchdown to Evans isn't taken off the board for the holding penalty. And you can't blame him for throwing the holding penalty because, for goodness sakes, you could call 30 of them on Donovan Smith. I mean, honestly, it's just a matter of which one. It's like, oh, man, I got to call this one. Look at him.
But they can't run it at all and haven't been able to.
Well, and they don't try. I mean, I'm sorry, they don't. I mean, what Brady have, 55 attempts?
Yeah.
Yesterday, 55 attempts. I mean, come on. Yeah, okay, you got behind. I don't know what to tell you. Your line can't block them. You need to cover for the line. You need to run the football. mean, even if you run it twice and you're rather ineffective, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, I mean, I don't know, gives you a chance, slows the game down a little bit. It's not good.
No. I mean, if they can win the division, which we thought they were going to and still can, they look like a team that's going to get bounced and bounced hard in their first game.
Well, yeah, they're going to play the Eagles or the Cowboys. Because they're going to be the 4. They're going to play the best wild card team in the NFC. Well, that's coming out of the NFC East. I mean, come on. Tampa Bay's not beating a good team. I mean, you look at this Bucs team. What is it about them in which you go, oh, yeah, we can beat a good team? Cincinnati's coming to town this week. What is it about Tampa Bay that makes you think they can beat the Bengals?
Outside of history, that's it.
Right.
You know who the names are on the jersey, and you think that they can perform, but there's been nothing that's shown you, particularly in the last 4 weeks, that they can go score 24 points in a game.
And this is going so badly. Now, I am not one of those people, but there are a lot of people that are where Roy Cummings is, in which they're ready to move on from Brady. And I would just remind everybody that the depth chart right now is Blaine Gabbert and Kyle Trask. Okay, so I might want to look elsewhere first, but okay.
Blaine Gabbert's not the answer.
Neither's Kyle Trask.
No, he is not. We are Miller and Moulton. The starting 5 is on the other side right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Well, Johnny Mac out. I mean, something the two of us have been pounding the table for years, and so has Pat. And the NFL has to have 53 guys active on game days. They just have to. The sport is brutal. In the second half of the season, guys are already playing hurt. So then the games happen. And I mean, do you know how many backup quarterbacks threw passes yesterday? I mean, golly. Yeah. You ain't kidding. He should have. Klecko. I mean, nobody cares about those awards anymore, but he absolutely should have. His stats were better. Never mind the fact he's the upperclassman and Bowers is a sophomore.
Yeah, what was that stat, DC, that I saw? They gave up 400 yards of offense for the 5th consecutive game.
Well, DC, it's a little early to proclaim that everybody they drafted can't play. Now, if next year at this time they're this productive, then yeah. I could argue that the reason they're giving up all the yards and points that they are is because they're having to play so many young guys because they revamped that defense. I will say this, if I'm a Dolphins fan, if the defense keeps playing like this, you've got a chance because you were right there within a score in the fourth quarter each of the last 2 weeks, and that's with the Dolphins, with the offense looking like crap. Ten for 28. 10 for 28.
They've got some of this next-gen stuff, too. Apparently, he was 3 of 13 with at least 2.5 seconds to throw, the worst completion percentage by a player in any game with those throws this season.
TC, I agree with you because they're also secretly effective running the ball. I mean, ever since they made the trade for Wilson, you know, he's averaging 4.5, 5 yards a carry.
15 seconds. Here we go.
Cowboys just didn't show up ready to play.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. I'm in Phoenix for Monday Night Football. Arizona Cardinals, a team full of dysfunction, hosting the Patriots, a team with Matt Patricia calling the plays. But believe it or not, a win tonight, and they're in the playoffs. They'd be the 7 seed in the AFC playoff picture with a win tonight. New England, a 1.5-point favorite. Monday Night Football. We'll get to it much later in the show. Miller and Moulton. You know, some weeks we are basking in the glow of what the Bucs and the Dolphins did on Sunday. This Monday, holy mackerel. Whew.
There's no glow, David. There's just a stench. There's like 3-day-old garbage when you open the garage door and someone didn't close the lid. That's what this smells like.
And I understand the Dolphins defense is taking a little exception to what we're saying right now, but sorry, guys, you get lumped in. It's not your fault. You've deserved better these last 2 weeks, but, you know, hey, there were weeks in which they bailed you out, so now you got to take the stench. Whew. Time now for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Mark. Tua was 10 for 28 throwing the ball. 10 for 28.
Yeah. Yeah, that's 28.
That's really bad.
And when he didn't have pressure, because they keep all these next-gen stats, when he had 2.5 or more seconds to throw the ball, he was 3 of 13. That's the worst by any quarterback this year with that much time and that many throws. Worst percentage.
So when he was under pressure, he did better than when he had all the time to throw.
That's correct.
Huh. That's an alarming stat. Justin Herbert was terrific. He put the Chargers on his back, 39-51, 350 yards. Chargers ran 29 more plays than the Dolphins, who didn't even run 50 plays last night. The game not as close as the final score, quite frankly. Chargers 23-17. Miami's still in the playoffs. They're the 6th seed. If the playoffs started today, they're 8-5. But that's a 2-game losing streak, and they head to Buffalo Saturday night. And so that'll be a 3-game losing streak. Chargers back in the playoff picture. They're the 7 seed heading into Monday Night Football tonight with a record of 7-6. The Bucs, meanwhile, excuse me, Tampa Bay Bucs in San Francisco. Well, I don't know if the plane officially landed because it certainly didn't look as if the Bucs were there. San Francisco dominated them early and often. 35-7 was the final. Niners, doesn't matter who's quarterbacking them. Brock Purdy with 2 touchdowns yesterday. Deebo Samuels did get hurt, an ankle injury. They don't think it's season ending or anything like that. Likely going to miss a few games. They can afford it. They have a 2-game lead in that division. Tampa Bay has a 1-game lead in their division. But believe it or not, look out for the Carolina Panthers. You heard me. Look out for the Carolina Panthers. They ran for 223 yards yesterday, beat Seattle 30-24. They've won 2 in a row. They're a game behind Tampa Bay. And unlike the Falcons, who have a worse division record and don't own the tiebreaker against Tampa, Carolina has a better division record and owns the tiebreaker right now on the Bucs. And these 2 teams will play second to last week of the season in Tampa.
Carolina does not have a team with a winning record left on their schedule, for what it's worth.
And the Bucs are hosting the Bengals this week. So this could get interesting. It was interesting in Orchard Park. It was December weather. And if you saw any part of this game, you could see why home field advantage, kind of a big deal. Because if that's what it is the second weekend in December, just wait to see what it'll be the 3rd and 4th weekends of January. Buffalo has the inside track on the 1 seed. They beat the Jets 20-12. Josh Allen ran for a touchdown, threw for a touchdown. Listen, they hype things up in New York, Mark. I don't know if you're aware of that. But the toughness that Mike White showed yesterday for the Jets, got knocked out of the game twice. The second time he got knocked out of the game, it looked like he was killed. Bent in half. and just broken and battered, and we're not going to see him again. And we saw him again. And he was completing passes. And both times he got knocked out of the game on vicious hits, he completed balls more than 10 yards downfield on both passes. That Zach Wilson guy, he done. Done.
Literally one of the people I follow on Twitter that covers the Jets, and he put in there, stock up and stock down reports. And he had his reasons why behind him, and he just had onions next to Wilson, or next to White rather, for stock up. And you can't go back to Zach Wilson now.
No. It'll be interesting, though, if White can't play this week, say, because people fear he's got broken ribs on the right side also, and he's right-handed. Not that it matters. They hurt like hell, but you know what I'm getting at here. The Jets, I think, have to go to Joe Flacco as opposed to Zach Wilson if they need somebody to play this coming week. Interesting day in Denver. So the Chiefs jump out to a 27-0 lead. Then Mahomes throws 3 interceptions. And Russell Wilson in Denver found their offense. He throws for 3 touchdowns. Then he gets knocked out of the game with a concussion. Chiefs hold on and win 34-28. They're 10-3. They're on the Bills' heels. And that division's all but over. Denver falls to 3-10. Another 1-score loss. Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Interesting game. Both starting quarterbacks got knocked out with injuries. The Ravens' third-string quarterback, he hardly threw the ball. And that worked out well because Pittsburgh's second-string quarterback threw the ball all over the place and ended up throwing 3 interceptions. And it's funny, Mark, you look at his stat sheet and you're like, man, he had a really good day. 21 completions, 250 yards. It's just those 3 passes that ended up with the other team.
And both were on longer drives, too. I mean, he was working the ball down the field when he threw those picks.
We were talking about this rivalry late last week. Did you hear what one of the veteran Ravens said after the game? He said, all week we were walking around to all the young players and said, you're not a Raven until you beat the Steelers. Just so you know. Just so you know. You guys are not Ravens yet. You haven't beaten the Steelers. 16-14 Baltimore. They're still technically in first. They own the tiebreaker on the Bengals, who finally, with Joe Burrow at quarterback, beat the Browns 23-10. Since he's won 5 straight, Burrow with 2 touchdowns. Browns fall to 5-8. Can I ask a question once again? Is Cleveland aware they have Nick Chubb? Just Stefanski aware that he's got a dominant running game? Because Deshaun Watson threw the ball and Jacoby Brissett even threw a pass. I think they had like 45 pass attempts and like 25 or 26 runs.
You got that number pretty right.
What the heck? Nick Chubb had what? 11, 14
carries?
What the heck? What am I missing here? Especially with a quarterback who's played once in 2 years. I mean, come on, what are you doing? Oh, boy. By the way, the Jacksonville Jaguars hadn't won in Nashville in 9 years. They had lost 9 of 10 to the Titans overall. And so there might not have been a better play on the board than Tennessee at home against Jacksonville. And so Jacksonville went in there and whooped them by 2 touchdowns, 36-22, and the game wasn't even that close. Trevor, 3 touchdowns. He's starting to look like a franchise quarterback, just saying. And the Jags are 2 games behind the Titans, 7-6, 5-8. They play again to end the season in Jacksonville. Just saying. Titans have lost, 4 in a row?
And Titans have a difficult schedule the rest of the way.
3 in a row, actually, for the Titans. 3 in a row. The Eagles humiliated the Giants. Miller and Moulton got one right. We just said, listen, I don't want to hear the road game, division, what have you. Have you seen the Eagles roster? Have you seen the Giants roster? Okay. 48-22, and that was with a late touchdown by the Giants. Eagles are 12-1. They clinch a playoff spot. Jalen Hurts with 3 more touchdowns. Hey, at what point do we conclude that maybe he's a franchise quarterback? when he wins the MVP. I mean, there are people who aren't, don't believe Lamar is a franchise quarterback, and he won one of those suckers too. But
right. You guys can all have Dak. I'll take Jalen. Okay, just for the record, give me the guy in Philly. You can have the guy in Dallas all day long.
Speaking of the guy in Dallas, the Cowboys mailed one in yesterday until about 4 minutes to go. They're down 3. Dak throws an interception deep in his own end. The Texans have 1st and goal at the 4. They pound the sucker in. They're going to win. Cowboys with a goal line stand, and then Dak drives them, 98, 99 yards, something like that. Zeke runs it in with 41 seconds to go, and the Cowboys survive the now 1-11-1 Texans, 27-23. Listen, don't read too much into this. Everybody's going to go, say bad things about the Cowboys. Come on, teams sometimes do this. The Cowboys didn't show up yesterday. They didn't take the Texans seriously. And would you? The Lions need to be taken seriously. They've won 4 of 5. Actually, they've won 5 of 6. They were 1-6. Now they're 6-7. Do the Lions have a quarterback? And is his name Jared Goff? Man, he's playing well.
He said it last week. He's playing the best football of his career, and there are those that are saying there's nobody throwing a better deep ball in the league right now than Jared Goff.
3 touchdown passes from Goff. They handled the Vikings 34-23. Minnesota's still got a 4-game lead in their division. They're going to win that division, although the 2 seeds now in play because the Niners are only a game back of the Vikings. And we mentioned Monday Night Football tonight, the Patriots with a win would actually be the final playoff team in the AFC at this point in the season. They say prayers are needed for 61-year-old Mississippi State football coach Mike Leach, hospitalized in Mississippi with, quote, a personal health issue, but apparently it is serious and he is in critical condition. Paul Silas died yesterday of a heart attack at the age of 79. Longtime coach in the league, was a terrific player, won 3 NBA titles in the 70s with the Celtics and Sonics. May have heard Friday night, Grant Wall, one of the great sports journalists, died suddenly in Qatar at the World Cup. His family thinks something nefarious may have gone on. He was just 48 years old. He was very critical of the regime over there. He also got kicked out of the U.S.'s first match because he had a rainbow T-shirt on. You know how they feel about, gays over there. Navy fired Ken Niumatalolo, all-time winningest coach in Navy football history. Not that the Army-Navy result's a big deal or anything. And Oregon State gave their head coach, Jonathan Smith, a 6-year, $30+ million deal. So he's making over $5 million a year. That's at Oregon State, and we don't even know if they care.
That's got to go a long way there.
You think? In Corvallis?
Right.
$5 million a year?
Right.
Yeah. Do you know the Florida Panthers are 11th in the East right now? Kraken came into Fort Lauderdale 5-2. And you know what? Do we owe the Orlando Magic, and by we, I mean me, an apology? Ever since I started mocking them, they've won 3 in a row. They beat Toronto 111-99 last night. College basketball, UCF men a winner. They're 7-2. A lot of games on the women's side. USF lost to NC State. FGCU got whooped at home by Duke by 22. Stetson and Florida State were winners. Bethune-Cookman, UCF, USF, Jacksonville, all losers. The Gators beat the Canes by 3 in overtime in women's hoops yesterday. And that, Mark,
That was the starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
If you started doing best and worst performances of the weekend, Trevor and Jared Goff would get named in best performances, and Brady and Tua would be on the worst end.
That's sobering. That is sobering. Wow. And I'm not arguing with you. I mean, Tua has to make every one of those you can't suck enough lists. Man, oh man. Whoo. More into just how bad the performance it was, and do the Dolphins need to reconsider their future?
Miller and Moulton. We'll dive deep into the Dolphins and Bucks next hour. Take some of your texts as well. Miller and Moulton right here. Thanks for listening on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Who was what game is the alley-oop, Duncan? Who? Because Hawks, Bulls. Hawks, Bulls.
It was a game-winning alley-oop. It was unbelievable with 0.5 seconds left. AJ Griffin.
Believe it, the clutch play of the day may be you taking your girlfriend to meet the parents. We might not even, we might not even be able to get to the highlight.
That is close with a K.
Or Felipe with an F, one or the other. Did you see it's going around on Twitter, the Georgia high school football championship?
No.
Oh my gosh.
The one team is down by more than a field goal. They need a touchdown to win. It's 3rd and goal from the 2. They run the ball. The guy gets to the 1, and he does not get any closer than that. And it's clear he was tackled at the 1. Ref comes running in from the sideline. The play's over. Puts his arms up, touchdown. Decided a state championship. The kid wasn't. It might have been 4 feet from the goal line.
Yeah, it was not close.
It's so embarrassing. It's disgusting, actually. It's disgusting that one of the other officials wouldn't go, John, you made a mistake. Or I don't know what you thought you saw, but the kid was not even close.
Wow.
I wouldn't even celebrate that state championship.
Final minute of the game, too. Come on, Larry. Maybe a Pac-12 official. KW, I don't think LeBron was making an Islamic reference to Grant Wall's death. Some people think of heaven as paradise. TC, it's going to be a few hours before I can look that up.
10 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Monday, where we're less than 2 weeks from Christmas, a week away from Hanukkah. Hope your weekend was a good one, and thanks for starting your week off with us, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. This is, over-exaggeration Monday or, whatever it is they call it. But can I just go down that road that I try desperately never to go down? Because, you and I are not two of those guys. We're not hot take guys. Trust me, this show would be a lot more successful if we were.
So you have an overreaction for me?
There we go. That's what I was looking for. Do the Dolphins need to rethink their quarterback of the future? How concerned are you by these last 2 weeks?
I'm concerned. I'm more concerned really about yesterday than I was the game where he was pressured, the San Francisco game where, I'll chalk one up to a bad game. He had guys in his face the whole game. They had a really good, and San Diego had a good plan defensively as well, but the most accurate passer in the league couldn't hit the broadside of a barn yesterday.
10 for 28. 10 for 28. I'm just wondering, this is his 3rd year. And obviously the Dolphins don't have another option on the horizon. They're going to pick up his 5th-year option when this season is over. But this is when you start thinking about, hey, we need to sit down. We need to talk. Maybe we could do one of those 5-6 year, big money extensions. We'll do it now. We'll play out the final 2 years of your deal and we'll tack, 5 years on top of it. What do you say? One of those 5-year, $200 million deals. What do you say? Want to have lunch? And I'm just wondering right now, if you're running the Dolphins and you're head coach of the Dolphins, how concerned are you that, Well, sometime in the next year plus, going to have to go find me a new quarterback. Whew. Because I'm concerned, Mark, and you and I are Tua guys.
Absolutely.
But last night freaked me out a bit. Freaked me out.
How do you put this all on Tua then? Do you put this on McDaniel and the play calling? I mean, there was.
No, I put it on Tua. No, he was terrible. He was terrible. Channeling my inner Charles Barkley there. Terrible. No, I put it on him. The coach took the blame for San Francisco. No. No, I'm sorry. Now, does McDaniel deserve some credit, or blame? Sure, of course he does. It's a team game. I get it. 10 for 28, man. That's hard to do.
It is.
And the reason why it concerns me is that the one thing Tua's always had is accuracy. You want to question his arm strength and his mobility and his size and is he a leader? Tua throws a very accurate ball.
But no one was, and I get what you're saying. Guys weren't open.
They were more open than 10 for 28. I'm sorry. I don't believe it. Then he's forcing the ball in places where it shouldn't go then. I think there were guys open. I do. I mean, it's tough not to have a check down open on every play. It really is. I mean, if you want to credit them for doing a great job on the wide receivers, then okay, throw it to the running back. Check it down to the tight end. I don't know. I will say it does look as if two defensive coordinators in a row have gotten a bead on what it is the Dolphins want to do. Because for the first 11 games of the year, the Dolphins just ran wild. They were like, African animals in the safari, in which they just ran wild, and there was nothing you could do to corral them. And last 2 weeks, all of a sudden, it looks like two defensive coordinators have figured out, we can, we can stop, whether it's receivers, Gesicki, we can stop them.
Because Waddle was nowhere to be found last night. Didn't have his first catch until late third.
I believe you're right. And last night was a big game. Last night was a big game. And you know what? Maybe McDaniel did just get horribly outcoached again.
Which is tough to say when it's against Staley, and we've all had our shots at Staley as a head coach. But defensively last night, LA was terrific. I haven't done one of those in a while either.
Well, you did one 5 minutes ago, so that's $2 in the jar. When you go home and your daughter's little, jar there, throw
those jerseys. It's the powder blues. It just makes me think San Diego Supercharger.
Shall we sing? Because I'll sing. I was singing alone in the hotel room last night watching them play. I was.
Because that was Supercharger-esque last night.
Damn right it was. You damn right it was. Man, I love those jerseys. I'm sitting there rooting for the Dolphins, and I'm like, how could I be rooting against a team that looks that good? So, but I got to admit, Mark, I'm a little freaked out. I am. You got to remember, 2 weeks ago, this guy was in the top 3 for the league MVP. So, 10 for 28. Woo-wee. And they're going to go to Buffalo and lose. So they're going to come home, and it's going to be Christmas, and it's going to be nationally televised because I think there's only like 3 games on Christmas, and I think they all get their game. And so there it is. It's going to be against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Boom. There you go. And Green Bay's going to win this coming week because they're hosting the Rams on Monday Night Football. So they're going to be whatever they are, 6-7 or something like that. And they're still going to be thinking, well, we can win out, or 6-8, and we can win out, make the playoffs. And they can. Them and the Lions are both thinking the same thing. But I was genuinely, they lost. I could handle that if I'm a Dolphin fan. Disappointed? Sure. but I could handle. They're playing a desperate team, playing for their season, who's got a lot of talent, even though they had a lot of injuries. But man, not like that, Mark. Because this team is not a defensive team. This team is based around its offense. Well, that's what needs to show up in big games. They lose a 38-35 game. You can live with that as a Dolphin fan. You go, well, it's kind of how we're built. All right. You lose the game you lost last night? Come on.
The only thing I'll put on coaching as well, David, is that I just don't, they kept trying, and this may have been Tua where he was trying to take the ball. They kept trying to take the ball over the middle. That's where he likes to throw, and it wasn't there. And they never, ever tried to throw on the edges.
Waddle was barely targeted also.
Yeah. Mark mentioned that. His first catch late third quarter.
And it was outside the numbers where they finally got him on an out. They finally ran something to the outside and were able to get him the ball. So I didn't like the play calling last night. Tua was terrible.
And now they've lost 2 in a row and they go to Buffalo in mid-December. What could go wrong?
By the way, what's that number? I'm sure it's already out. It's got to be.
Well, I haven't looked.
Like
It'll take me
6.5?
a few seconds. I'm guessing 7.5 to 8 will be my guess. Hold on here. I don't see it actually.
Yeah, Mice doesn't have them up until the Monday night games are over. So
yeah, same here. I'm going to guess 7.5 to 8 will be my line. So I'm just curious, Doll fan. 21,000 is the number. FSN radio, the keyword if you've never done it before. Twitch chat room as well. How concerned are you after last night's performance and really the last 2 weeks' performance? Do you think this is just finally the league getting 10, 11, 12 weeks worth of film and they've now studied some tendencies and now it's the Dolphins for the first time this year offensively who have to adjust? Or does Tua have the quarterback's version of the yips, which is what they say Zach Wilson has with the Jets, by the way?
Tua's 28 for 61 in his last 2 games.
And he was completing what, over 3/4 of his passes before the last 2 games?
Texter says, I've seen Pop Warner quarterbacks with a better passing percentage. Yeah, you probably have.
It did concern me, when people suggesting throw to Gesicki, throw to the running backs. That's what concerned me, Mark, last night. I didn't understand why. Well, we're trying plan A. They seem to be doing a good job here. Why don't we just go to our secondary receivers? Why don't we use Hill and Waddle as a decoy for a series and let's go to the other guys? Never mind, a few people saying, I kept saying, run the damn ball. Well, that's my middle name.
Throw some tempo in there to try to change things up. They just didn't seem to have anything last night.
So a few people in the Twitch chat room think it's teams adjusting to the Dolphins. Took them 3/4 of a season, but now they're starting to figure it out. I hope so. But, and maybe I'm reading too much into this, Mark, but they're not going to have a lot of good weather games left. They go to Buffalo. They're home for Green Bay. They're at New England, home for the Jets. So 2 of their next 4 are bad weather games. And then in theory, they're going to the playoffs, so they're going to play a bad weather game. And if that high-flying offense can't perform in good conditions, do we really think they're going to perform in bad conditions?
Well, they're going to have to, McDaniel's going to have to redo some things and figure out how to get these guys off the line a little more cleanly, because last night Hill was getting hit a lot.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with your observation earlier in the show. They didn't put him in motion. He was easier to jam off the line, and everybody who's jamming him is bigger than he is.
And I'm waiting to see them run Hill or Waddle, some jet sweeps. Because you got to figure out a way to get the ball in his hands when you're unable to with Tua. And last night they were unable to with Tua because he was dreadful. That's the game that the Tua haters can point to. 10 of 28 in just a miserable performance. Miller and Moulton. We'll go from one miserable performance to another. We'll talk some bucks on the other side right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Pins down. Boom.
Yeah, for whatever reason, they don't have a line of the Dolphins game. They have a line of every other game. Pretty much.
I wonder if that's just a time thing because the Dolphins played last night. So
Yes, they don't have the Chargers. That's got to be what it is. You're right. Right on.
The cadets and midshipmen get to the stadium by between 10 and 11 for a 3 o'clock kickoff. The march on takes place beginning at noon. Oh, yeah, Larry. Oh, yeah. We pointed that out. Each side basically gets a half an hour to march on and march off. And much to everyone's surprise, with military precision, they're always on time.
Wasn't Cousins' fault. It was that defense's fault.
Here's Detroit's big problem. They probably have to run the table.
I think they have to. Because they don't have a tiebreaker with Seattle.
Right. They lost to Seattle head-to-head, and the damn Giants and Commanders tied. So if they go 9-7-1, that's better than Detroit's 9-8.
Look who Cousins has compared. Detroit's receivers right now are amazing.
Yeah.
You got St. Brown. Jefferson's better than St. Brown. Jefferson's the best receiver in the game right now. But you got St. Brown. You've got the kid from Alabama who's now back.
Jameson Williams.
Yep.
Chark was great yesterday.
Yeah, he was.
We're coming back. Sorry.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. I'm in Phoenix, where, 2:44 a.m. wake-up call, baby. That's how we roll here on Miller and Moulton. Monday Night Football tonight. A surprisingly key game. I think most people are going to sleep through it, but New England, with a win, would move into the playoffs in the AFC. They would own the tiebreaker with the Jets and Chargers as to the 7-6 team that would get in as the 7 seed because they have the superior conference record. So the 6-6 Patriots tonight in Arizona. Cardinals may not be going anywhere. Although I have to admit, we all need to stop writing teams off. I mean, the Lions at 1-6 are now very much alive. If you're in the NFC South, you're alive. Heck, if you're in the AFC South outside of the Houston Texans, you feel as if you're still alive.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are very much alive.
Well,
but
in the standings.
But are they the Walking Dead, basically?
They were yesterday. Golly.
How many more games are the Bucs going to win the rest of the way?
Well, I have thought the answer's 2. That they're going to get to 8. But they're losing this week against Cincinnati to fall to 6-8, which means they got to win 2 of their last 3. They're at Arizona, they're home for Carolina, and they're at Atlanta. I mean, come on, Mark. None of those 3 teams have more than 5 wins right now. Come on.
I know. But the Bucs only have 6. So
I understand. I mean, Mark, if Arizona loses tonight, I think a full-on mutiny happens with the Cardinals. So I don't even know what semblance that team is going to be on Christmas Day when they host the Bucks. But it should be a desperate Bucks team because they'll go in at 6-8 with a 2-game losing streak, knowing full well, man, we actually need to start winning some games. Listen, this is how messed up this league is. The San Francisco 49ers are now looking as if they are a legitimate Super Bowl contender with their third-string quarterback. And technically, the Carolina Panthers are beginning to make a run in the NFC South with their third-string quarterback. He may have been the third overall pick of a draft a handful of years ago, but Sam Darnold is their third-string quarterback. He's only playing because P.J. Walker, that's right, P.J. Walker got hurt.
And they waived Baker Mayfield.
Right. So it's a messed up league right now. Can we get back to how much the Bucs suck in a minute and just sidebar over here? Everybody now is doing the Niners, they can go to the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy. That Brock Purdy's looking pretty good.
Why every time that you talk about the San Francisco 49ers and Brock Purdy do we get a scene from The Deliverance?
He got a pretty mouth. But you guys are giving the San Francisco 49ers way too much credit. Remember, they traded away half of the Western Hemisphere to get the rights to Trey Lance. Well, if their offense and their defense is so good that they can be serious Super Bowl contenders with Brock Purdy, why did they give up so much for Trey Lance then? They didn't need to do that, right? I mean, apparently, if this offense is so easy that you can just, plug and play guys, then why would they give up all those resources for Trey Lance?
Well, apparently, once Trey Lance is in there, David, they're going to score 60 a game, and no one's ever going to be able to stop him.
Apparently, right. They're going to be the 72 Dolphins with Trey Lance. They better be with what they gave up for him. They gave up 3 first-round picks for a guy who started like 5 games so far. And they were 6 minutes from the Super Bowl last year with Jimmy G, the guy they wanted to replace with Trey Lance. And now everybody's jumping on let me tell you, the Niners, they're just going to see, you don't want to play the Niners. And that Brock Purdy, they ain't missing a beat with Brock Purdy. Okay.
David, in hindsight, that's all true. But with all the weapons they have, you could put anyone there.
No.
Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel.
Well, first off, when the season started, they didn't have Christian McCaffrey. Okay. So you can't give the Niners credit when they gave up all that they gave up for Trey Lance. Okay. And for everything that has transpired this year, they didn't have Christian McCaffrey. Okay. They had Deebo. They had Kittle. They had Ayuk. Okay. They had a very good defense. They have an above-average offensive line. But, I mean, it is interesting that they felt they were in need of a Mahomes-like figure at quarterback. And they gave up what they gave up. And now, here we are, a year and a half later, and it's with the way the Niners are built, you can just plug and play. Well, then why did they give up what they gave up for Trey Lance? Wouldn't you keep all those resources and have an offensive, think of all that they'd have. They'd have at least 2 more starters, in theory. They'd be even better. They'd be more plug and play if they hadn't made the deal for Trey Lance.
The key is here, though, David. They have a defense. I mean, you know why. This defense is elite right now. Mm-hmm. They get after a quarterback quickly with 4. Mm-hmm. They make life very difficult on the other team's quarterback. We saw Brady was just a mess in that game. Mm-hmm. Tua was just a mess in that game.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's funny what pressure on a quarterback can do.
Samuel on his touchdown, when he turned the corner, Those first 4 steps are impressive. Look like a track star coming around the edge there.
Yep. Listen, that Philadelphia-San Francisco NFC Championship game, I mean, I'd pay huge money to see that game. Huge money. That'd be outstanding.
And that third matchup, that matchup between the Niners and the Cowboys to get to the Eagles could be a hell of a game too.
So, but it is funny how we're quickly rewriting history here. You know, Jimmy G wasn't good enough. They had to go out and find somebody, you know, with more of a skill set. They gave up 3 first-round picks to do it. And now here they are with the last pick of the draft. Now, probably he's better than that. He's certainly looking it, but it's early. We'll see. But I just love how, you know, Mark, you're the cook. You know, aren't those chocolate chip cookies, the cheap kind? You can just slice them, you put them on, and boom. You know, that's what everybody's making the Niners out to be right now. Oh, yeah, hell, anybody can quarterback the Niners. That's just like those chocolate chip cookies. You just slice the dough, boom, they're already made, and right there you put them in, and 4 minutes later you got a cookie. That's what Brock Purdy is. He's instant chocolate chip cookies.
Brock Purdy, instant chocolate chip cookies. Ready-made dough.
Right.
That could be right because they look good. They taste all right.
Cheap.
But in a pinch, they'll work for you just fine. But when
Right.
you're really trying to impress somebody, can they get it done? And once there's 4 weeks of tape on this guy, we'll see.
Right. Right. You try that with the big date. Okay. You're cooking, try to impress her and what have you. That could be Brock Purdy showing up on the road in the playoffs. It's like, uh-oh.
Here come the instant cookies.
Right. And what we really need are homemade from scratch.
But right now, the instant looking very gourmet, at least in the interim, as the Niners cruise to an easy win against the Bucs with Brock Purdy, Miller and Moulton.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Bob Barker's 99 today.
Wow.
Yes, they did. Solid Oak Tree. Yes, they did. We've not even mentioned them. We'll do it here. Can you? Yes. Will you? Probably not, because, well, it's the Jags. But you don't play a team with a winning record, I think. Oh, no. That was a different team. No, you got to beat the Cowboys. You're not going to run the table. No. Because the Cowboys aren't going to play crappy 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I can't believe many. Yes, the Cowboys stunk last week, but come on. They didn't take the Texans seriously.
Jimmy Johnson, I watched some of the pregame. He was talking about a game he had against Cleveland. He said how the coaches get during this week. Because I went by one coach, he's going over all this stuff for Cleveland. Like, what are you doing looking at Cleveland? We got Washington. Get on the Washington stuff, because they had Washington the following week. And so they asked him straight, I think straight answer, did you win? He goes, oh, we beat Cleveland, but we lost to Washington the next week. They're working Gronk, and they had him in for a little bit of it, the show.
Well, Klecko, there is no doubt that when you miss a penalty in the World Cup, it is an absolute catastrophe. You know what sucks with them down to the semis now? There's no more Ian Dark. The other guy, who's kind of nondescript, was their number one guy. He gets to do the final 3-4 matches.
$15 seconds. Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com, as we are picking up the pieces from an awful Sunday for the Bucks and Dolphins. Just awful. But, Mark, you have for many a year had a love, not hate, but love, push you to the side relationship with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yes, you're right.
You have either been all in to the point of buying merchandise and putting it on yourself and your dog around the house when they played, and trying to get your daughter to do certain chants of JAGS right in her mom's face, the Steelers fan, when the Jags are beating the Steelers in the playoffs, to when you're done with them, You refer to them as the South Georgia Jaguars.
They've been playing like the South Georgia Jaguars.
Well, for much of the last 10, 12 years, they have. I'm just curious. Did them going into Nashville yesterday, winning for the first time since 2013, does that now make them part of the Sunshine State again?
There's no doubt. They got their Florida card back yesterday, David.
Okay. Because you had stripped them of it for a couple years now.
Well, I stripped it of them last week at the game because the Lions game for them was a big game.
It was.
And they laid an egg.
They didn't show for that. They didn't.
And they go into Nashville against their nemesis, a team they can't beat, and they whooped them. Trevor Lawrence throws for a career high, like 368 yards or something like that, had 3 touchdowns, looked really good.
Have to admit, he's looking like a young franchise quarterback. And remember, I know it's his second year, but are we really going to count last year? I mean, last year probably did more harm than good.
When he's up there having to defend his head coach.
Right. Who was indefensible. So just, okay. So Jacksonville with a big win. They're only 2 back in the division. Realistically, they have to run the table.
And I don't think they can do it. The schedule's not that easy. They play the Cowboys next week, first and foremost. And does anybody think the Cowboys are going to lay it? Even though they won, they laid an egg yesterday. Does anybody think the Cowboys are going to have back-to-back bad performances?
Probably not. Probably not. Will be a test, though, for the Cowboys. You know, I mean, if Trevor Lawrence is coming into his own here, I mean, that's a problem. You face a team with a young franchise quarterback, that's not an easy day at the office. But the Cowboys pass rush against Trevor Lawrence, that'll be fascinating. And see what he may have to use his legs a lot in this game. But Tennessee's 2 games ahead of the Jags. Tennessee has the Texans left on their schedule, so you have to assume that's a win. So we've got Tennessee with a minimum of 8 wins.
But they go to the Chargers this week, do the Titans.
Right. Having lost 3 in a row.
And they play the Cowboys as well.
Mm-hmm. So if you give them as 2 losses and then they beat the Texans, you've got the Titans at 8-7 doing what the final week of the season, Mark?
Playing the Jags.
Yeah. Now, in theory, the Jags could be 7-9, win that game, and win the division. The Jags are currently 5-8. But that's with only Tennessee beating the Texans the rest of the way. You know, that's the Tennessee entering that Jaguars game like losers of 6 of 7. It's possible. I mean, it's definitely possible. They're halfway there. But realistically, Jacksonville thinking, man, we got to run the table. But it is possible you could just win 2 of the next 3 and still have. Imagine that, Mark. Could you imagine Tirico and Collinsworth, last game of the NFL season, Tennessee at Jacksonville to decide the winner of the AFC South? I'd pay money for that. I'd pay money for that. Okay, followed by the question, when's the last time either one of you guys have been in Jacksonville?
Well, I'm guessing, you know, Tirico probably covered that Super Bowl in some way, shape, or form that was in Jacksonville at that point in his career.
Actually, I think Collinsworth did that game with Joe and Troy. They were a 3-man booth in that Super Bowl. So we know Chris was at the Super Bowl in Jacksonville 18 years ago. Has Tirico been to Jacksonville in the last 18 years?
Probably not.
Just trying to think if there was a college hoops game or something that would have brought him there. Probably not. No. You know, I mean, we do Florida, Georgia. He doesn't. You know, maybe, I don't know, a bowl game, possibly. But anyway, so there it is. There's the math for Jacksonville. It's possible they only have to win 2 of their last 3, next 3, and then beat the Titans to win the South at 8-9. But I think if you're the Jags, don't you have to adopt kind of the Detroit Lions feeling right now that, we got to win out?
Absolutely. And it's a tough road for the Jags. They've got the Cowboys this week. Then they're at the Jets, at the Texans, home for the Titans.
And don't laugh with at the Texans, because for whatever reason, Houston owns Jacksonville. They've won like 7 in a row. Remember, the Texans' only win this year was in Jacksonville. How costly does that look now? Yikes. So there you go. Just, doing some math. It's interesting what's going on with all these teams with awful records, but there's so much kind of mediocrity in the middle that the math is still there. I mean, even for Green Bay. In fact, Mark, it's possible that when the Lions and Packers play, it's a monster game. I know.
Well, but funny.
I know, especially in late December, or early January. Who'd have thunk it? And with Detroit ahead of them in the standings, also, who'd have thunk it? But
I will say that tie between the Giants and Washington is going to end up being, I think, the difference in the NFC. I think that tie is going to enable Detroit or whomever to catch what they need to do. I really think so. I think Washington will end up getting it, but I think that tie is going to be the difference.
Well, I think the tie is going to end up helping Washington. I think the tie is going to end up hurting the Giants. Like, I don't have the Giants winning more than one game the rest of the year. I mean, off the top of my head, they're at Washington. They're home for Minnesota, right? Or are they at Minnesota? All right. Then they got the Colts. I have them beating the Colts at home, and then they go to Philly.
Right.
Now, people are trying to point out it's possible the Eagles already have the 1 seed clinched and they absolutely mail one in. Man, would they have to mail one in, because they're so much better than the Giants.
And remember, it's tough to mail one in the NFL. You got to play most of your starters. It's not like you can go play the C team, because there's no such thing.
I mean, I guess you call up everybody from your practice squad and you play the guys you normally would deactivate. So there's like 22, 23 guys, but you still got to come up with 25 more. But I have the Giants finishing at 8-8-1. That's why I think in the NFC, we're going to have a 9-8 7th place team. And is it going to be Seattle? Is it going to be Detroit? Could it still be Green Bay?
Washington still has to play. I mean, Washington's got a tricky schedule the rest of the way, too, though. They have the Giants. That should be a win at home.
Which would get them to 8-5-1. 9 wins and a tie is probably going to be good enough. So if they beat the Giants this week, I mean, when you look at it, for both those two teams, with the tie there, okay, whichever one wins is going to have 8 wins and a tie. They probably only need one more win.
And they play at the Niners, does Washington, home for the Browns, home for the Cowboys. So, yeah, the Browns game's the one they have to get, but Cleveland will beat somebody going down the stretch to ruin someone's day. And Seattle doesn't have the easiest schedule as well, and they just blew the game against Carolina. So I don't know how much trust you have in Seattle. The one thing they have over Detroit is they beat them head-to-head if those two are tied for the wild card spot. So Detroit would have to clear them by a full game.
Mark, you had asked the question earlier in the show, how big an underdog would the Dolphins be in Buffalo? And I thought it would be over 7, 7.5, 8. And you thought it'd be in the 6.5 range. Joe Shad is reporting it's 6.5.
I think I'd be laying it.
I was going to say jump it now before it goes up.
Because it's going to get over a touchdown in a hurry. In a hurry.
But there are some interesting mathematical equations going on, particularly in the NFC, but the AFC South. And are the Ravens ever going to get healthy enough for us to take them seriously, even though they're in first place? They think Lamar is missing at least one more week, maybe 2 more. And now the backup's hurt.
Right. In concussion protocol.
Right. You have no idea how that's going to go. That could be he's ready to practice by Thursday, and that could be we'll see you in 2 weeks.
This is the Pat Kerwin theory. At this time of the year, the concussion protocol shrinks a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So the math is interesting right now. Take a look at the NFL standings. But just for the record, they're back being the Jacksonville Jaguars. You're in.
They're part of the Sunshine State. Welcome back.
Here's my deal with you. You need to keep them in the state, even if they lose at home this week to Dallas, because the math does not eliminate them. They can lose to Dallas. They'd have to go on the road and win 2 games, but the math is still there. So if you're bringing them back, you got to bring them back. If you know what I mean.
I got you. Miller and Moulton, you want to text the show. The number is 21,000, 21-000. If you've never texted the show before, FSN Radio, all one word. That's the keyword. Do that once to 21,000. Then you are in, and you can text as much or as little as you would like.
Do you think we're blowing the Bucs up at the end of this year? I mean, I know we're still talking about this year, and they're going to try to win the NFC South and host a playoff game, and enjoy the final month of Tom Brady in a Buccaneers uniform. Because if Tom comes back and plays next year, I don't think it's going to be in Tampa. I think Tom's going to want to be on a better team. But if you're Tampa, I mean, listen, if you're a Bucs fan and you're complaining right now, you're crazy. I mean, I'm sorry. You're crazy. I mean, 3 years ago, if we had said, listen, a gift from the heavens is going to come down and you're going to go on a 3-year run where, I mean, they're still favored to win the division and make the playoffs. I mean, think about this. You're going to make the playoffs 3 years in a row. The odds are right now. And then it's going to be a mess. Wouldn't you have signed up? And I'm not even guaranteeing you a Super Bowl win when I said that. 3 years ago, I came to you and I said a gift from the heavens is going to come down and you're going to go to the playoffs 3 years in a row. And then when that run is up, your franchise is going to be a mess. Wouldn't you have said, well, hell, we've been a mess for the last 12 years?
Couldn't have signed up for it quickly enough. For as bad as they have been and what they are historically, to have a 3-year run, absolutely. Blow it up. I don't know if they have to blow it up.
They need to blow up the offensive line. Okay. Let's just assume you get the center back healthy and you got the right tackle. I don't know if you have anything else. I think you need at least 2 new people up front.
I agree with that.
Maybe 3. Now, is that enough? Is that all this team needs? There's something missing with this team. They're not playing hard every week. They're not. It's not a consistent performance week to week. You would think after stealing what they stole on Monday, they at least would have had a representable effort yesterday, Mark. Come on.
And they were steamrolled yesterday. Their defense has been average this year. That's the big, for as bad as the offense was, they gave up 35 yesterday. And never looked like they had an answer once for what San Francisco was doing.
Used to be there's not a unit on this team that you can hang your hat on. The last 2 years, you thought you could hang your hat on both units. And this year, Mark, when you look at the Bucs, week to week, there's not one unit that you're willing to hang your hat on. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, Come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
All right, Solid Oak Tree. What are we apologizing for? About them winning the South?
If I apologize for all the games I got wrong, it would be 4 hours of me apologizing.
And then Mark could take Tuesday off because that would be my apology day. The in-room snacks. There was a kind of like a breakfast bar. There was a Snickers. There's a big thing of Starburst. There's a huge Kit Kat. And then they got these sour cream and onion and cheddar cheese Pringles cans. So. Mello, he was a very nice man. He was very nice to me as a young guy growing up in the biz. I'm surprised every broadcaster on NBC would have picked the Finns. It was a season for the Chargers.
$30 seconds.
They tell me all the water in the room is free, but there's stuff in the refrigerator and all the other stuff in the refrigerator you have to pay for. So I'm a little worried about that.
Coming back.
Yeah, here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And just like that, it is the 8 o'clock hour on this Monday, in which we are less than 2 weeks from Christmas, a week from Hanukkah. Hope you had a great weekend. Thanks for starting your week off with us, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. For those of you in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice, this will be our final hour of the day, halfway home for those of you in the 239. And it's a tough show for Miller and Moulton because, you know, the big two teams are the Bucks and the Dolphins, and they stunk.
All right. Right now, do the Dolphins make the playoffs?
Yes.
Do the Bucks win their division?
Yes.
So no harm, no foul yesterday.
I'm playing the percentages there, Mark. The Dolphins are still the 6th seed. Now, I don't know after they lose to the Bills, you know, what their playoff positioning is going to be. I mean, here's my fallback, Mark. I think the Dolphins are going to beat the Packers at home. So that's their 9th win. And even if they lose at Buffalo and at New England, in which, you know, going to New England, it's January, so that part you don't like. But the Patriots don't have a ton of weaponry. I mean, you know, you're not scared of playing the Patriots. You know, they're a pain in the butt, but you're not scared of playing them, where in the past you were like, wait a minute, we're going to New England in January? Oh, for goodness sakes. Can we just, you know, can we forfeit that and stay home? But if I'm right, and they get the Packers, if they don't get anything else, then they're hosting the Jets, and they got 9 wins. And in theory, they beat the Jets at home. They're 10-7. They're in. They're going to be in. And I think beat the Jets at home, they're probably going to be the second-place team in the AFC East, win a tiebreaker with the Patriots, and so they'll be a 6 or 7 seed. Because let's face it, I mean, the 5 seed, we pretty much know who the 5 seeds are going to be in both conferences. The second-place team in the NFC East, Eagles or Cowboys, that's going to be the 5 in the NFC. And the 5 right now looks as if it's the second-place team in the North, Ravens or Bengals.
Yeah, I think those are, I think that's 100% accurate.
But let me ask the question of you. Are the Dolphins going to make the playoffs?
I think so.
No, that's not allowed. Nope.
I'm going to say yes.
Okay, there you go. That got to be a
Because
yes or a no.
I trust teams like the Jets far less than I trust the Dolphins.
Okay.
But if you were to tell me that it comes down to Jets Dolphins in the final week of the season for a playoff spot, I think you'd be on to something.
And it's got a chance to be the NBC game. It does. Now, I think the Jets have a tricky schedule. The Jets actually have to play some decent football, I think, to put themselves in position to play the Dolphins with a chance to go to the playoffs, right? Don't the Jets still have some tricky games?
They're 7-6. They have the Lions this week at home. They have the Jags on a Thursday night following that at home. Then they're at Seattle, at Miami.
And that's tricky. That's tricky. 2 winning teams, 2 losing teams, but the losing teams are feeling pretty good about themselves.
Home for the Lions, and it's tricky. And you're not
Correct.
wrong.
No, I'm not. I mean, they're one of the hottest teams in the league, right? They've won 5 of 6.
December in the we're not saying this is a weird year or anything, but it's December, and one of the hottest teams in the National Football League are the Detroit Lions.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the kind of NFL season we're having, ladies and gentlemen. So, yes, $20, my $20. We both think the Dolphins are getting there. Now, let's go to the losing team. Let's go to the team who's 6-7 and staggeringly close to being 4-9. How many more wins you got on that schedule there, big boy?
Well, they're losing to Cincinnati on Sunday.
Yes, they are at home. They're 6-8. Is it possible, by the way, if Carolina wins, that technically the Panthers are in first because of tiebreakers and division records and all that?
I believe so. And they play Pittsburgh, do the Carolina Panthers this week.
They host the Steelers. And if I do my math here, well, they would have the same division record, but since Carolina will have beat them head-to-head, technically Carolina would be in first. Yes. Okay, so they lose. They're 6-8. To me, the key is Christmas.
Right.
All right, because you would like to give yourself some margin for error with the 2 division games if you're Tampa Bay. That if you lose to the Bengals, but you go to Arizona and you win on Christmas Day, remember, both the Dolphins and Bucks play on Christmas. Dolphins host the Packers, Tampa Bay's at Arizona. Key games. If they can win that, they're 7-8. And then in theory, they come home, beat Carolina, they've probably won the division. They could literally not play Brady and their veteran starters against Atlanta, in all likelihood.
I really would love to see the Carolina game on New Year's Day mean something.
But how many more you think they're going to win? Because, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, their bad right now is as bad as darn near anybody in football.
Because of their schedule, I'm going to give them 2.
Okay. One of those 2 better be Carolina. And I'm being serious. One of those 2 better be Carolina.
Carolina's got Pittsburgh and Detroit at home and finishes with road games at Tampa, at New Orleans.
Right.
Talking about the Carolina Panthers and the Detroit Lions making playoffs right now. It's absurd, for crying out loud.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Otherwise known as the reality TV show that is the National Football League. But where are you with our $20? If we had a poll question today, it would be, so are the Bucks and Dolphins making the playoffs? A, yes. B, no. And then it'd be C, Dolphins, Bucks? That would be our poll question. $20 right now. Stretch run. It's our money, so don't feel badly. It's not your money. It's our money. Gut feeling. How do you think this is going to play out?
Miller and Moulton say they both get in.
Yeah. Not pretty, though, and very nerve-wracking. Enjoy the final month as Tom Brady is a Tampa Bay Buccaneer quarterback, though. I find it very hard to believe. When he came out in that interview and said all the options are on the table for next season, well, that tells me that one of the options is not returning to Tampa. That the options are then Fox or playing somewhere else.
Right. I'm not playing for these coaches again. That's what it tells me, because it has not gone well.
And I can't play with Donovan Smith as my left tackle. I just can't do it. A, he's going to get me killed, and B, when he doesn't get me killed, it's going to be a holding penalty, and it's going to take back another touchdown.
The only choices we seem to have with him on the field right now is a holding call or them not calling holding when he's holding someone.
Right. It does happen in sports, though. You get old quickly. You know, Donovan Smith was more than adequate. In fact, he was pretty darn good the last 2 years at a left tackle position. The thought was at some point, Wirfs, before the injury, by the way, had graded out as the best right tackle in the NFL. I mean, that's a stud. And the center that they had before he got hurt, that's a stud. But they don't have either one right now. Oh, boy.
And we see what happens because of it.
And I don't think the play calling is helping the quarterback. And if the quarterback is audibilizing out of runs to passes, then he's not helping his cause either, because you can't throw the ball 55 times. Just can't do it.
And he would rather right now. And they refuse to try to run the football.
Which is funny, because what was that really nice game they played like 3-4 weeks ago?
When Rashad White had 100 and whatever on the ground, and
and Fournette had like 80, and they ran for 2 and change, and they kept running the football. They kept running the football, and they made a 45-year-old quarterback at this stage of his career a guy who could play off a play-action pass. Wasn't that the London game against Seattle?
Now, everyone can run the ball against Seattle. I mean, that is part of it, which also baffles you to switch gears quickly to the Dolphins, because everybody could run the ball against the Chargers.
Right.
And the Dolphins,
well, they didn't really try.
Didn't try.
No. Nope. Mm-mm.
And they were never out of the game where they had to quit trying.
Correct. Yep. 2 big plays kept them in the game for 3 hours. Could have been running the ball in the fourth quarter. So both the quarterback and the head coach, you know, the one guy's new at being this franchise quarterback thing, and the other guy's new at doing this head coaching thing. And now they're both, well, they're at the fork in the road, Mark. They're at the fork in the road. And by the way, the road next week is going to be in Orchard Park.
You know what? You can't even see the fork.
No.
Because the snow's covering up most of it.
Correct. You drive, and all of a sudden you're stuck, and you're like, hold on a second. Is this the middle of the fork in the road? Oh, there's roads on either side of me. I'll be damned.
And if you go to eat off of that fork, your tongue's going to get stuck to it.
Well, since we're stuck, why don't we call AAA and go walk to that diner there and get something to eat?
Dolphins have found themselves in a spot. We talked about this 3-game road trip from the time the schedules had come out.
Mm-hmm.
And we said the game against the Chargers was going to be the money game.
Yep.
And it was for the Chargers.
Well, it was for the Dolphins too, because now all of a sudden they just decided, Mark, to, I'm just going to spend 15 more minutes in the casino playing the slots. And they're now walking out of that building with a lot less than they had in. Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening. Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka, The Seaside will be serving clutch vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. One of the worst calls I've ever seen, West Coast. I don't even know how to describe it, but it didn't mean anything. It cost them a tiny bit of time.
Well, they would have punted there.
Well, they
Ended
punted
up
it.
punting the next 3 plays later.
Oh, that's right, true.
Little bit of field possession, or field position rather. Because in theory, he should have been punting out of his own end zone. They should have got the ball around the 40, but
What was the worst call, that or the touchdown call in the state championship game?
Touchdown call in the state championship game.
Mark, when you get a chance, you should watch that video. It's so bad. It's embarrassing.
Think there's any shot of getting another raise in Fort Myers?
A shot, yes. Do I think they will? No.
Wow, the Rays in Fort Myers would be awesome.
I've kind of let that stadium. I mean,
Now, if the Rays were to come to Fort Myers, would you build another stadium or use?
No. They'd use City of Palms. Oh my God.
I know. It's how could the umpire who's right there, okay, in the middle, how could one of them not come to the guy and go, listen, I don't know what you saw, but your eyes, deceived you. It's no big deal or anything. I mean, it's only determining a state championship. I mean,
oh man.
Not only that, he didn't call it right away. If there's somebody shoots the play from behind the official.
10 seconds.
The official actually begins jogging in, Mark, gets a third of the way to the pile and signals touchdown. The play's long since over.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. And since the NFL is very much a week-to-week thing, it's like wet your finger, put it up in the air, and see which way the winds are going. But how concerned are you? Dolphin. I mean, Bucs fans, I think, realizing that this is the end of our little 3-year Brady Odyssey. And, I thought we were going to be better than this and have a chance with a home playoff game to at least win that round and, see where we go from there. But now I think Bucs fans realizing, wow, we're not good. I mean, we might still get in the playoffs, but I mean, we've got no chance. But Dolphins a different story. I mean, 2 weeks ago, you were the 2 seed. Tua was being talked about for MVP. You were going on the road, and we were going to find out what you're really made of. Oh, boy. So how concerned are you on the concern meter of 1 to 10? I got to admit, I'm an 8.5. Not because they lost, but how Tua's played.
He's been abysmal the last 2 weeks after being terrific for 5 straight against inferior opponents.
Well, and he was really good early in the season when he was healthy. I mean, Obviously, he had a 2+ week period there where he got banged around and a concussion and the whole deal. But he started off the year great. I mean, the miracle comeback in Baltimore. And then, obviously, the last 5 weeks, inferior competition, what have you. They're scoring 5 touchdowns a game. Great. And now here we go. Life on the road against teams that are 500 or above. And oh boy. This just in, by the way, usually when you go to the playoffs, A, you're on the road, and B, you're playing somebody 500 or above. That's why this doesn't bode well.
Who do you trust the most right now in the National Football League? I mean, because the Eagles obviously had a monster day and they're in the NFC, but you've got the Chiefs, you've got the Bills, and you've got the Bengals right now that are all looking like the teams they were from a year ago. Who do you trust the most?
Oh, the Eagles. Because there's 3 teams in the AFC that can all beat each other. I mean, come on. You were talking Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow. I mean, we really don't think those three teams can line up and beat, the other. I mean, if they played a round robin tournament, I mean, don't you think that would be pretty damn competitive? That there wouldn't be one team just languishing at the bottom of it with 2 wins and everybody else has like 7. Meanwhile, though, in the NFC, are the Eagles beatable? Of course they're beatable. But they've solidified a couple of their weaknesses during the season. And their chemistry is apparently off the charts. All right, those that have been around championship teams are kind of like, this is what a championship team feels like during the season. And it's not just because they're winning. Like, everybody loves being here. When Devontae Smith's your number 2 wide receiver, when Goddard is your tight end, all right, their offensive line is good. Their defensive line is good. The weaknesses that they had on defense, they either filled at the deadline or they're getting people back healthy. They have 2 cover corners.
Well, they're going to get Goddard back. He's not even playing right now.
I mean, when you look at the Eagles, I don't know if they're great, but they're very, very good. And I think what everyone's waiting for is for Jalen Hurts to stink up the joint. It's not happening. It's not close to happening. I mean, Mark, even the game that they lost, if you remember, okay, he hit in the fourth quarter, the 2 times he had the ball, he hit both receivers in stride.
And hit both receivers in stride from the pocket.
Correct.
And I think that just needs to be pointed out because everybody seems to think, well, he does it with his legs or he does it scrambling around. No, both of those throws were on 5 or 7 step drops, throwing the deep ball over the middle.
And so, sure, pressure situation in January, never been in it before. Does he fold? I guess we won't know until it happens. But from what you've seen right now, I mean, listen, and I'm taking yesterday out of the equation. The Giants roster compared to the Eagles roster is as big of a mismatch as the Texans against the Cowboys. It really is. I know you guys are laughing at me because for a month and a half I said the Giants are not good. Folks, they're not good. Okay, they're not. They have guys off the street who are their wide receivers. Their top 2 corners are out injured. Their best defensive lineman's not playing right now. Their offensive line on its best day is average. Their quarterback is below average. They're not a good team. They managed somehow to win 7 games and tie another. I have no idea how. Honestly, I think they're the second worst roster in the league.
Tells you how good their coaching is, by the way.
It's how good it was, for sure. Absolutely.
I mean, they were outclassed even then. No one thought that this team that they were a 5-win team. So they've already overachieved. They've already beaten their over for the year.
But I'm not saying this because the Eagles won by 26 yesterday. I'm saying this because look at the roster. The only thing we don't know about them, knock on wood, they haven't had to turn it over to Minshew. Hurts hasn't gotten hurt. The Cowboys had to go to their backup. San Francisco's on their 3rd quarterback. Philly, knock on wood, they've had Hurts for every snap. Good. I don't want them to get hurt. But even then, they got a guy who's been a starter for a year and a half in the league as their backup quarterback. That's not bad. You tell me, give me an area of weakness for the Eagles.
I don't think they have one.
I don't either.
They can run the ball with their running backs and their quarterback. They have an above average tight end. They have elite wide receivers.
Correct.
Their defensive line has now been fortified that they can stop a run. As you
They
mentioned,
traded for two guys, and then they got the big fellow from Georgia back healthy. So now they're tough to run on. Good. You're going to attack them in the air? They have two corners, you know. They got Slay and Bradbury, both Pro Bowlers. They can play man, they can play zone. I mean, the linebacking core, I think, is vulnerable. But, you know, what? I mean, is Brock Purdy going to go into Philadelphia and win? That defense travels. Kittle, Samuel, McCaffrey, they travel when healthy. But, you know, fourth quarter, one-score game. Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy. Hell, Mark, you even said it earlier. Jalen Hurts or Dak Prescott?
Yeah, I'm taking Jalen. But I've never been the Dak guy that others are.
And by the way, this is a franchise that did this on the fly. Remember? I mean, they fired Doug Peterson. What was it? 2020? They tanked their last game of the year. Moved on from Wentz, moved on from their head coach, moved on from Foles. Made the playoffs last year, and now they got the best record in the league. Nobody's doing it better than the Eagles.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Well, buried in bourbon. We've been saying it for a long time. You just win the games you're supposed to win. And right now, if you're the Titans, how much better would your life be if you had taken care of business? You had a 2-score lead on the Giants in the second half, and you blew it.
Yeah, I've got the Bills opening at 7, by the way, on my phone.
Okay. They have already been bet up to 7.
potato chips for breakfast?
Mm-hmm.
Good for you. So people brought things to our house, because it was a party. So they brought us little gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Someone brought this little thing of buttered toffee popcorn and chocolate toffees.
Oh.
I did a number on those chocolate toffee balls yesterday. A number. Every time I walked by the bowl, 3-4 of them. Got through about half the thing.
Because she also met the grandparents, because yesterday we had lunch at grandma's house, and they made a soup with sausages from Spain, and it was like one of the best soups I've ever had in my life.
What kind of sausage?
I couldn't tell you.
Portuguese or Spanish? It was like
Spanish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't know of a chorizo, but that's
It was. I don't know what it is because it has Spanish.
linguiça. That's why I thought maybe Portuguese.
It was incredible.
Good talk. Just tells me about a food that he can't describe.
It was the best ever, though.
It was amazing, though. Yeah, Paul, I added a stretch into that O. Sorry. Oh, what's that? Kenny Pickett or Mitch Trubisky just threw another interception.
After completing like 5 passes in a row, though.
Yeah, there was a 9-play drive and a 7-play drive that he threw picks on. They were actually getting a little something going each time.
I mean, look at his stats. He completed almost 80% of his passes for over 250 yards in like 2.5 quarters, but managed to throw 3 picks.
How about that pass by Mahomes?
Oh, my gosh. I loved it.
Listen, they're up 27 points. I'm laying 9.5. Come on, guys. What the? I thought they were going to really add insult to injury and just tack on a field goal at the end and only win by 9.
Does anybody care that Grant Wall was murdered?
I'd like an autopsy. I got to be honest. I don't know. Would love to know what's going on with his body. Who has it? What are we doing? I will say he did complain for 2.5 days on podcasts of not feeling well.
Was that after he was incarcerated or before?
Well, he did go to a clinic. They said they thought he had bronchitis.
15 seconds. Very sus, though. Very sus. 5 seconds.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. There was a lot more that took place in the sports world in the last 72 hours than just the National Football League yesterday. I mean, you want to go all the way back to Friday. I mean, the World Cup's been fascinating, Mark. And on and off the pitch, it's been fascinating. On it, though, huge upsets. A bunch of penalty kicks, whether at the end of overtime or during regulation time, that are right now seemingly deciding this World Cup.
And missed penalties.
Oh, Harry Kane, Harry Kane.
Well, I think, did Brazil miss the net a few times and their loss to Croatia in the penalties?
One hit the bar. Yep. Meanwhile, the Croatian goalie is like Mr. Penalty kick. He's made like 6-7 saves on penalty kicks so far in this tournament. They're through to the semis. But Brazil is out. Ronaldo tearfully is done. They're out. Messi and Argentina, however, Mark, they're still alive.
Well, think about it. We could end up with Messi in the final against France. It would be...
Oh, Messi and Mbappe would do numbers.
I don't know if it'll do what it does.
Yeah,
this country, it'll do what it does. But it would be great to see Messi help lead Argentina to the final because it's been mostly disappointment.
He's never won a major team competition, right? With his nation. He's done it many times with his clubs that he's played on, but never for Argentina.
He won the Copa America last year, but that was like the first big one.
Okay. And I'm not being disrespectful here. Does that count?
Yeah.
Okay, no. Is it big enough that it counts? That's all. It's kind of like, a golfer and what have you, winning majors. And, is that the PGA?
Yeah, because you're beating Brazil. You have to get through Brazil to do that. So it's no joke.
Okay.
It's our Euros.
That's all I'm asking. Is that, winning the PGA? Does that get you on the scoreboard?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah. Argentina, Croatia, Tuesday at noon. France and Morocco, first African nation to make it to the World Cup semis. Stunning Brazil. And more English heartbreak in the quarterfinals. That is their round.
So one of our friends canceled on a Saturday for my little thing because she's born in France. She lives here now, obviously, but she could not be away from her television. And she said, I'll make it if we win. Ran into her at soccer on Saturday morning. She says, how late are you going? I said, well, we'll go late. We always go late. She goes, well, maybe I'll see you at 4. I said, so what you're telling me is if France wins,
right,
you're coming. If France loses, you're going to be inconsolable and not leave the house. And she was like, oh, yeah, absolutely.
Big story Friday night, however, the World Cup. Esteemed American journalist Grant Wahl collapsing while covering the World Cup, pronounced dead on his way to the hospital. He was not even 50 years old. His last ever piece that he did was very critical of the government and how unabashed they are about how they're going about things. He was apprehended for a few hours before the U.S.'s first ever World Cup match in this World Cup because he was wearing a soccer T-shirt that had a big circular rainbow in support of the LGBTQ community. And obviously Qatar is not. And so he was apprehended because of his shirt. His brother thinks he was murdered. Thinks that basically they poisoned him.
This World Cup has been astonishing from that standpoint because I'm surprised Grant Wahl even did the story. Fox has taken an approach to this that they aren't doing any stories about anything that's negative.
Right. They're making NBC's Olympic coverage look fair and balanced. Yes. Well, I will say Fox put themselves in a bad spot. They couldn't get nearly as many people to sponsor this World Cup as they thought. So they were really hurting financially. And then Qatar stepped in and said, well, we'll sponsor it. We got an airline, we got a country, we'll just, how much advertising you got? We'll buy it up. And Fox looked around and was like, I guess we got to do this because otherwise we're going to lose our shirt. So then once you accept the money, Mark,
journalism's out the window and you are just doing soccer. I mean, that's what they're covering. And they've decided not to cover anything else.
Nothing. Zip, zilch, nada. And most of the World Cup, they're covering from like studios in Los Angeles and New York. They've only got a few people on site.
And I'm surprised they still have them there. Because I might have been bringing everybody home after this.
So that was the World Cup. We had a Heisman Trophy. Caleb Williams won it, the USC quarterback. He won every region for what that's worth. The TCU quarterback finished second. Let me ask you this. If TCU had won the Big 12 championship game, do you think that would have – because there was a 600 vote difference, like 2,000 to 1,400 in terms of points. And I believe you can put 3 guys on your ballot and you get like 5, 3, and 1 for how you vote for them. And so do you think if Dugan and TCU had beaten K-State, do you think that would have mattered or no?
It would have made it closer, but I don't think it would have mattered for who won the award. It was – I mean, it was very Heisman-esque, nearly passing out on the field and having to be helped off after leading him back to force overtime. If he wins it, does he get the necessary votes to get first? I don't think so. I think it would have been a lot closer.
And the numbers definitely favor Caleb Williams' way.
Now, I did not see this. I only read about it. And I hate to be inaccurate. But apparently, because, they got a bunch of former Heisman Trophy winners on the stage. And so they introduce all 4, would-be, finalists. And C.J. Stroud, obviously, is one of them from Ohio State. And I guess they had Heisman Trophy winners lined up. And apparently he walked right past Desmond Howard and didn't shake his hand. I got to admit, if that's true, that's BS. That's BS. That's total BS. Okay? I get the whole, that team up north, we're not going to refer to them by name, this, that, and the other thing. That guy won the Heisman Trophy. You look him in the eyes, you shake his hand, and you say, it's an honor to meet you. And you keep walking. I don't care where he went to school. If that happened, that's BS. That's crap. This Ohio State, Michigan, especially from the Ohio State standpoint, you got to be kidding me. So the people from Michigan don't even exist? Come on now.
In Stroud's defense, Desmond Howard was having a conversation with someone, so he was turned away from him, and I don't think he shook someone else's hand after that. I think he just went up to the podium. But, yes, it is disrespectful.
I mean, I hope there's a reason. I hope it was logistics and, blocking and on stage and that sort of thing. But, the way I read the story, it was like C.J. Stroud was shaking Heisman Trophy winners' hands and walked past Desmond Howard. I hope that's not what happened, because that's crap.
It is crap.
So I hope
I'm all for the rivalries, and I'm all for hatred, and I'm all for all of these things that make rivalries great, but there has to be some sort of sportsmanship. There's got to be some class.
So I hope that was just, you're up on stage, there's a bunch of people. It's kind of like after the game when certain players get blamed because they didn't shake and congratulate the other person's hands. Well, there's, a bunch of people out there. It can happen. I hope that was the case. But I will say the way it was reported, that was not how the reporters who were there saw it. They saw it as C.J. Stroud intentionally ignoring Desmond Howard. I'll tell you what, CJ, I'll make you a deal. Beat him once and you could do whatever you want. How about that?
Well, we won't be able to get that for you because he's going pro, and
right,
that opportunity is since left.
So that's all.
Maybe he'll get another shot at him.
Well,
beat Georgia.
There you go.
You got another shot at him.
There you go. So, and then the Army-Navy game, obviously. Honored enough to be at it. I hope everybody at least took my advice. And I get for a lot of you, it's not your thing. It's just the football's not good enough. I get it. I do. But I hope you at least took in the pregame feature. And if you didn't see it live because you were doing things, I mean, it was, 10 to 3 on a Saturday afternoon in and around Christmas. But it was made available by CBS Sports PR a couple of hours before they aired it. It's out there if you haven't seen it. It's a little less than 5 minutes long. It's worth your time. I did something I've never done, Mark, this time. I watched it beforehand because I just made the decision that I don't like to be standing next to Gary when I just have tears running down my face. I just don't think that's good for Gary to have a grown man who's a puddle next to him while he's doing the Open for Army Navy. So I got my crying out of the way in the hallway about 45 minutes before kickoff.
Smart move. I will say, can I just say one thing? And I don't want, there's no other way for this to come off other than negative. I have one observation of the Army-Navy game. Would it be okay in the future if they could look like Army and Navy when they play one another? Because I thought SMU was playing in the game, David, and that confused the hell out of me.
And they were going into space. So you know how I feel about that. I mean, I at least thought when you looked at Army, with the colors and what have you, you kind of thought it was Army, and I know Navy mostly had their colors, but yes, I'm with you.
That's I don't like to do that because people get upset if you say anything negative about the Army-Navy game. I would prefer when I turn the game on to recognize both schools, both academies rather.
And I know they're always trying to honor a past unit. And so that's why another reason why it's sensitive to bring it up. But to me, I'm wondering, is there a way to honor them with a decal or a patch or something? And hey, you lose 5 out of your last 7 and you get fired. Ken Niumatalolo, the Navy coach, was told not to come back yesterday. So
that was a bit of a surprise.
See, rivalries. Okay, got to win your rivalry game.
Yes, you do.
And speaking of college football, prayers are apparently needed for Mike Leach, the 61-year-old head coach of Mississippi State. He had a medical incident yesterday at his house, and he was flown to a Jackson, Mississippi hospital, and apparently he's in bad shape. And so if you can, he and his family could use your thoughts.
No doubt there. One of the all-time greats. We've been lucky enough to have him on this show a couple of times, and he is certainly one of the best out there. So all of our thoughts are with Mike Leach and his family as that news kind of broke quickly, and it went from breaking to he needs your prayers now.
And by the way, while you were gone this weekend, ladies and gentlemen, the Mets signed 2 or 3 more players, and their payroll will approach the Golden State Warriors when all is said and done, between salary and 4 different levels of taxes. Apparently this year's Mets team is going to cost about $400 million by the time they're done putting their roster together. In fact, maybe more. The Warriors payroll this year, if you include the taxes, I believe, Mark, is at $455.
And I really thought the Yankees weren't going to sign Judge. They better get to work to keep up with the Mets here, for crying out loud.
I was say, you got their fan base going, we haven't gotten any better. And all you do is keep the status quo. Here's the funny thing, Mark. That's about all the Mets did, too. I mean, everybody they signed is just replacing somebody they lost, basically. I mean, they look on paper to be pretty similar.
They'll get a few more innings out of the old pitcher they signed than the young one they got rid of, though.
Hope so.
They'll need him. That's for certain. Miller and Moulton. Tampa, St. Pete, Lake City, Port Charlotte. We thank you so much for starting your week off with us. The bonus hour in the 239 and a late clutch vodka play of the day still to come on Miller and Moulton.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
KW, how has it been ruined? I'm not questioning it. I'm just curious, what's your reasoning as to why it's been ruined?
Someone texted in that there was something that that Desmond took a shot at CJ Stroud last year during the Heisman presentation. That's what someone texted the show. I don't watch the Heisman presentation, so I wouldn't know.
Well, and I got a text from somebody that said they think the reporters may have blown it out of proportion, that they took it more the way that Felipe did, that it was kind of, he was shaking hands, and then Desmond was there, but he was kind of turned a little away, and that he said that CJ didn't shake anyone else's hand after he walked by Desmond. So I will say it's not how it was depicted by the media.
Well, also RG3 was talking to Desmond, and I don't know if it was something that Desmond said to him, but RG3 was like, "Oh, okay, like you're gonna walk past Desmond Howard or not?" Like that was the reaction I got from him. But he was laughing and smiling. So also RG3 is so great in television, like in the booth.
He is very good.
I love it.
I love the fact he did the track and field championships.
Yeah.
And he wanted to do it. He asked to do it. Well, I mean, what have we had? 3 running backs win it in the last 12 years? I mean,
and a receiver.
I mean, But KW, look at the offenses and look at how the sport's gone.
It was like, I don't have much for today was a day, but one of the things I have was today in 65, Gale Sayers scored 6 touchdowns in a game. Those games don't happen anymore. And those seasons don't happen for running backs anymore.
So I think the Christmas Day game we did in New Orleans, I think Kamara scored 6 TDs.
Yep.
Wearing the special cleats that he got fined for. I don't know if he scored 6 touchdowns since.
1 minute. Also, what do you mean only 2 running backs have won the Heisman in the last 20 years? The Reggie Bush never happened. What are you talking about?
So it's just Ingram and Henry?
Yeah.
The 2 Alabama running backs?
Mm-hmm. They need to give Reggie Bush that damn Heisman back.
Somebody was saying that they made an impassioned plea for it over the weekend.
20 seconds. Ten seconds. Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And just like that, it's the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. David Sampson, Pat Kerwin, among those scheduled to join us on the show tomorrow. Felipe in 20 or so minutes with the Clutch Vodka play of the day. We don't know if it's going to be on the field or off the field. Still being discussed.
Not if I have my way.
Well, our names are only on the show, but he's now in control of the segment. So, and he's in another room.
That's all right.
Okay.
That's all right. I feel pretty strongly that my clutch play of the day is better than his clutch play of the day.
Well, it's definitely better. It's just a matter of whether or not it's going to be used.
I'm pretty certain that it is.
And
that it is.
And, Mark, sometimes when we use the best play of the day, it leads to a Facebook violation. So I have no idea if that play of the day is going to lead to us getting kicked off Facebook again. But you know what? Since I know the story involved, I'm willing to get kicked off Facebook for it. How about that? And we're about 40 minutes away from the good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap today was the day when and final thoughts here on Miller and Moulton. A show spent mostly bemoaning the Bucs and the Dolphins. Yikes. Damn.
The college line that I heard Brian Kelly use after they beat Ole Miss was, October is for pretenders and November is for contenders, and they proved to be one. Maybe in the NFL, December is for contenders, and the 2 contenders that we're looking at in the state of Florida both looked like horrible pretenders yesterday. Horrible pretenders.
Yes, they did. I think the question is it fixable?
I don't think the Bucs are. I don't think the Bucs are fixable. I think they're a bad football team. They can't block anyone. He's not patient enough to try. He doesn't want to get hit, so he's not going to go through reads, and he's getting rid of the ball as quickly as he can. I don't know how you fix the Bucs with that offensive line the way that it is.
Don't either. We said it 6 and 8 weeks ago, why they were not aggressive and trying to bring in anyone and everyone, because clearly what they had was not going to be good enough. And that was when Wirfs was healthy. And now that he's out injured, oh boy. Oh boy. And it's showing. And you have an old, immobile quarterback who can still play the position, obviously. Look what he did a week ago tonight. But he's a pocket passer. And he knows physically he gets hit, he ain't going to survive. So, yeah, he gets rid of the ball quickly. By the way, it's only something he's done for 20-plus years. I mean, he's not just getting rid of it quickly now. He got rid of it quickly at the end of his Patriots regime, too. And the only reason he held on to it longer the last 2 years was he had the best center guard combo in the league, according to Pro Football Focus, and he had Wirfs at right tackle who was playing at a Pro Bowl level. You could give Donovan Smith a little bit of help, with Gronk maybe lining up on that side, chipping an end and what have you. And you could see why, their pass protection was pretty good now that I think about it. Yeah, it was.
And now their pass protection's bad, even though Tom's not getting sacked because of the reasons David just mentioned. But they're not able to get the ball deep. When he's thrown it deep, he's not been accurate.
And now, because of inferior offensive line play, they don't have a running game on top of it. So let's review. They can't protect the passer and they can't run the ball. Wow, they're struggling on offense. Who'd have thunk it?
Now, I think the Dolphins is much more fixable. I don't know for the life of me why Hill in motion was not a bigger part of last night. They seemingly had ways to move him around to get him in matchups that were favorable. Last night, they didn't move him around nearly as much. The Chargers were hitting him every opportunity that they had. Waddle never got in the game. I think a lot's going to be on whatever McDaniel and company think has been done to the Dolphins offense, that they're going to have to tweak whatever San Francisco and LA did well enough that they've now got to counter. Because obviously there is a bit of a map to how to slow down Miami. But I think the Dolphins is much more fixable.
Now, I will say, and obviously I'm a Brady guy, but I don't know what his problem is with Mike Evans. But he needs to get over it. I mean, that's a guy you can force the ball to. That's a guy who can be covered and you throw the ball. He's big. He's physical. He can win one-on-one battles. I don't want to hear he's not open. Mike Evans is always open. Now, I know there was a game like 3 weeks ago. They targeted him 9 times. He only had the 2 catches in Cleveland. Mark, I'm going down. I'd rather go down this year with that, than with Brady just not looking his way. I mean, he didn't look his way against the Saints until he absolutely positively needed help wherever he could find it. I mean, Evans was looking at him kind of like, oh, you remember my number. I'm 13, by the way. You're 12. I'm 13. Nice to meet you. So, and I don't know how different things are if that first quarter touchdown to Evans, in which he, by the way, got protection. He held onto the ball kind of like last year, and Evans broke free, and he hit him in stride for a touchdown. It was kind of like, okay, that's the Bucs. Oh, holding penalty.
Why he had that extra time in the pocket was because of the holding penalty.
Right. I mean, it just they didn't know whether, 10 yards or 10 years, so they went with the 10 yards instead.
So that's where the Dolphins. Now, which one do you think's more fixable?
Oh, the Dolphins. First off, they're going to start getting some pieces back. Even if Fisher has to continue playing, in theory, he'll be better every week. Armstead's, going to play more, I believe, down the stretch, not less. Okay. I also think that they will make some adjustments here. I do think they will run the football a little bit more. I think they're going to have to. By the way, the forecast for Sunday in Buffalo, temperatures between 28 and 35, a 50% chance of snow. Now, I will say the windy day is Sunday. If you're the Dolphins, you'll take the 30 and snow over the wind.
All day long.
But it's going to be Saturday night, so it will be the coldest that it will be. So the likelihood is that it will be played in the snow. Man, it's going to look great on TV.
It really will.
It will. It's not going to be great for the Dolphins, but boy, will it look good on TV.
It could. I know that I get all the reasons why, but it's the defense that doesn't know where the offense is going. Both defenses can slip. This should give opportunities for the speed of Miami to do some things. It really should.
Yeah. Tyreek's got experience in the snow, right? That'll help. Right?
Anybody want to check out Tua's 2 performances in Buffalo in his career? I know, different coach, different team, the whole deal. They haven't even been competitive the last couple of years in Buffalo. I think they've been outscored by like between 50 and 60 points in the last 2 times they've gone to Buffalo.
So we'll see.
I mean, Mark, I do believe in the, one team played a close game and lost, the other team got blown out. All right. I am more concerned about the team that got blown out. I am. I don't like the fact that I don't know what I'm getting for the Tampa Bay Bucks, literally series to series, never mind game to game. They don't have an identity anymore. And they had one the last 2 years. They were a good defensive team, and we knew what they wanted to do on offense. They wanted to throw the ball, and they wanted to throw it downfield. And when push came to shove, he could throw it to Gronk. They don't have any of those ingredients anymore.
I think the other thing that I like about the Dolphins, despite the fact they've lost 2 in a row, is that it's not been because of the defense. The defense is giving a really good effort. A really good effort. Thought their defense was excellent again yesterday.
Well, and Herbert overcame the Dolphins' defensive effort, which was outstanding, and they put a lot of pressure on him, and Herbert was just better. I mean, that's at the end of the day, you're the Dolphins defense. You tip your hat and you go, dude, you were great.
Yeah. But 23, man.
And that's with him completing nearly 40 passes for 350 yards. I mean, that's how good he was.
And that's 2 games in a row in which the Dolphins, from a play count standpoint, have been totally on the wrong side of it. San Francisco ran a bazillion plays against him. So did the Chargers yesterday.
Chargers ran 29 more plays than the Dolphins, 78-49.
So the defense has had to play basically 80 plays 2 weeks in a row. Oh, hi, you get Buffalo this week.
On a short week. Now, I will say the Dolphins stayed out west, so it's not like they played San Francisco, flew back. I mean, they at least saved themselves 6,000 miles of, flights here. But, 3 road games in a row, and now short week for your toughest test of the year. And offensively, you had to have lost a little bit of your confidence, right? I mean, you would think they'd need some early success against Buffalo, right, to get their mojo back.
Question on the text line, David. Is it fair or unfair to see that we are seeing a regression or two, or is it just a bad stretch?
I don't know. I'm hopeful it's a bad stretch. I'm still a believer in Tua. The thing about yesterday that concerned me was the accuracy. That's his bread and butter. I'm not optimistic about Buffalo at all. Haven't been all year.
What they do the rest of the way will be the difference between whether or not they make the playoffs, a 6 or 7, or whether they make this thing at all. Miller and Moulton, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when What's on Tap? Final thoughts. 25 minutes ahead right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth. that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. David, tweet on, I don't know who this guy is, but he covers, works for the Statesman in Austin. Breaking, University of Texas head men's basketball coach Chris Beard was arrested and charged with assault on a family member early Monday. Austin police confirm. Wow. That's not good. Omar Kelly just tweeted defending Tua and said the defense sucks. Okay. Logic Man David was at the Flyers game last night.
I was. It was for 2 periods. I had 4th row seats in the corner.
Ooh, good seats.
$84.
You mean ESPN didn't hook you up?
I didn't ask. And I doubt they would have. I'm too far down the totem pole. If I wanted free tickets, I could have gone to Joe. Because Joe's youngest daughter actually dates a coyote. But it's not Fox, Mark. It's not Fox. Here's my question. When the charges against Beard get dropped, does he get to keep his job?
I haven't even said he lost it yet. But when you've been arrested, in the middle of the night.
For assaulting a member of your family. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that it's a female.
No, I didn't, Logic Man.
No.
Put the game away.
Still lose with a touchdown, and you'd let them off the goal line. And exactly, and they were 110-1, so no, you go for the win. Look at you with the trackside donut.
Trackside donut.
It's a good spot.
Are they going to open a Buc-ee's in Fort Myers?
3rd-degree felony assault.
Oh.
On a family member, impeding breathing circulation.
Oh.
This is not good.
No, that sounds like strangling someone.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, and not only that, I don't know how you get rehired from that. How do you ever get a job from that again? Anywhere. Can't go into broadcasting.
No.
Who's going to hire you to be their head coach?
Got to hope to get a scouting job somewhere where you can disappear into the.
Yeah. And exactly. Go work. But
Pro scout, European scout.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour, the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. There is a breaking news story out there. I don't think there are a ton of people that are interested in this coach or this team per se, but the story is, well, it's pretty disturbing.
Texas men's basketball coach Chris Beard has been arrested for a 3rd-degree felony assault on a family member, impeding breathing circulation is all we have at this point. But a very disturbing story coming out of Austin in the last 5 to 10 minutes. Happened really as we were going right to break in the last segment.
And it's been confirmed by members of the media in Austin with the police in Austin. So that's an ugly story. And here he is coaching the, second-ranked team in the country before the polls come out later today. And one would think that even if those charges get dropped, which they often do in these domestic incidents, because the person who is the victim oftentimes says, yeah, I don't want to go forward. I don't know how he keeps his gig, and I don't know how he keeps his career after this, and I don't think he should.
So that story is something that we will keep an eye on for you over the next 24 hours and beyond. As David mentioned, Texas, heading into today, was the number 2 ranked team in the country.
And he was at Texas Tech for a few years, took them to the national championship game a few years ago. They lost in overtime. And then he left for Texas. He helped get a new arena built at Texas Tech, and he has the benefit of a new arena in Texas. He's not yet 50 years old, and it climbed the ladder to get to the point where he was before last night. And now I have a feeling that ladder is been removed, and he's just going to fall out of the 4th-story window.
Ugh. 21,000 is the text line, 21000, the text line to talk any and all things on the show. We have been talking, obviously, on a Monday, plenty of football. The Dolphins and Bucks both look terrible. The Bucks especially. The Dolphins, despite not looking good, still had an opportunity late in the game, but couldn't get it done as Tua just threw another incomplete pass.
See, I think the coaching staff and the players can get together and turn what's wrong and make it somewhat right in Miami. I don't think I think the horse has left the barn in Tampa, Mark. I really do. Like Todd Bowles after the game basically said, for the umpteenth time, it's up to the players. Well, the players have been trying to fix this. The defense alone has called 2 team meetings.
Bowles going to get blown out when they win the division and lose their first playoff game?
I think you have to ask yourself the question going forward. Is Todd Bowles the right guy if we blow this team up? Like if for whatever reason this didn't work with Bowles and this group, maybe we kept them together too long. Maybe too many guys got too old. You know what? Maybe the GM behind closed doors says, I didn't do a good enough job fixing the offensive line. I thought Brady could work his magic and make that a respectable unit, blah, blah, blah. I should have put more into it. And it all started from there. Because if you think about it, Mark, I mean, most of Tampa Bay's losses are all at the line of scrimmage. They lost Sue. They lost JPP. They lost both guards. They lost Gronk. I mean, those are all guys that line up at the, right there. And Gronk was every bit the blocking help, which we're certainly seeing now, as he was the receiving help. And so, they moved away for financial reasons. And in some cases, I mean, the guards, I don't think they wanted to move away from. The one guy retired, the one guy they lost in free agency. I think they were shocked by the retirement and they were stunned by the free agent loss. Then the center gets hurt and now Wirfs gets hurt. So they lose both guards, and then their 2 best remaining offensive linemen get hurt. One is basically not going to play this year, and the other is going to miss most of the stretch run. Turned out to be too much to overcome. Now, the question I think you have to ask yourself is, Mark, if this fate happened to the other teams in the NFL, would they have suffered the same fate? See, I think the front office has a decent amount of blame to accept here.
Well, you and I, when these injuries started happening, were begging them to go try to find anyone. Fisher signs with Miami. Why not in Tampa?
I mean, especially since you're watching Donovan Smith here and you're like, you sure we couldn't bring in a swing tackle to challenge that? It's not like that's any good. And then certainly when Wirfs got hurt, why they didn't sign Eric Fisher, I have no idea. I mean, he was out there for another week plus before the Dolphins signed him. I mean, that to me was ridiculous. It was not clutch, Mark.
It was not. And it is time now for our Clutch Vodka play of the day. And Felipe, I'm upstaging your segment because you dropped a bomb on me at the end of our show on Friday. You dropped a truth bomb right on me when you were walking out the building. You didn't say it before the show where you could take any grief for it. But Felipe, upon finishing the show on Friday, I kind of, I walk in his studio when I leave. What do you got going on this weekend? Just a little chit chat before I leave. And he turned immediately into a 13-year-old. He's already only 21. And he had this little grin on his face, little sheepish grin. And I'm like, what do you got going on? And he informs me at 10:01 that young Felipe has a girlfriend and has had one for quite some time, so long so that he brought her to Miami to meet the parents over the weekend.
Whoa!
So a couple of questions,
parents.
Felipe. Couple of questions. Is she still your girlfriend today?
Yes.
So you were clutch over the weekend.
With a K?
Apparently. I mean, if she's still around by next week, I'll give you clutch with a K if she's still around next week.
And she met the grandparents.
Oh, well, then that's the big deal.
Now, Felipe, this is a lot of pressure on you because you are you may have had other girlfriends that have met your parents in high school or even in college, but see, you are now a college graduate. You are older. And I don't know when your parents got married. I don't know when your grandparents got married, but my guess is that they got married young.
Relatively late 20s, I'd say.
Okay. How much pressure will there be, particularly from the grandparents now, every time that you see? Because the parents are cool. Your mom and dad get it. Your mom's has worked in the education. She's seen relationships come and go. She understands all that. Grandparents don't have that same type of thing. If they met the grandparents, your grandparents think you're getting married, don't they?
No. Come on. No.
Really?
No. There's too many grandchildren. And I'm like this third youngest one. No. And none of the grandchildren have yet to be married. So why me?
So there's hope for you.
Can I ask a question? How many young ladies have you introduced to your grandparents?
Like in the past before this?
Yeah.
In your life?
In your life.
2.
Okay. All right.
I
Mark,
never did that.
Mark, here's the deal. Christmas is in 13 days. Okay. She's not going anywhere till the first of the year. All right. It's whether he can keep her through January. She'll ride this sucker out for the next couple of weeks. There's something in it for her.
Oh, absolutely.
And she's curious, quite frankly, to see what?
If
to see
Felipe's
how clutch with a K Felipe is.
So that's our Clutch Vodka play of the day. Clutch Vodka, clutch with a K. Felipe must have been using that vodka, or else he would have never been able to get a girl. Congratulations, Felipe. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun, smooth, like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Guillermo, she looks better in the Bronco than I do. I'll admit that. And of course, she loves it. So, you know.
Where's she from?
Born in New York, moved to Orlando when she was younger. Her dad's a Jets fan.
Sorry to hear that.
I know.
Her dad's a Jets fan, so that means she's a Jets fan.
Yeah. She has a throwback Joe Namath jersey.
Hey.
Oh, I want the Jets to beat the Dolphins now just for that.
That'll be so great on January, what is it? 8th. No, 7th or 8th. When it's Jets at Dolphins, winner goes to the playoffs, loser stays home. You two might as well go to the game together. You can put on your Finn's jersey. She could wear her Namath jersey.
My only Dolphins jersey, my Danny Amendola jersey.
Wow. All the Dolphins jerseys. You have to acknowledge, and I know you haven't had a ton of options here, with your age and what they've done and all, but of all the options, you went Amendola.
Hey, $5 at TJ Maxx.
Wow. South Dakota's governor is going to make South Dakota and South Dakota State stop using TikTok, including for athletics.
What?
Yeah, wait till Florida does it.
That's not going to happen.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Felipe.
That'll never happen.
Really?
In Florida?
You
No.
aware who our governor is?
I was going to say, are you paying
You pay
attention?
any attention to politics or no?
Is it because of like the data?
China.
China.
Yes, China.
It's because of China.
Don't put your head on your. I knew what you were thinking.
He's going to put it in play. He looks, he still looks, and he goes alley-oop into. Oh boy, A.J. Griffin got it and put it in. I think they're going to count the basket, and the Hawks will win. The Hawks have won the game.
Thank God, because that was another horrible call.
A.J. Griffin. He got the inbounds pass and put it up and in at the buzzer.
Now, is that the TV call?
No, radio. TV call was better.
Is it a simulcast?
I don't
know. Because the Hawks TV guy suffered like a medical incident on air late last week, Bob Rathbun.
Yeah, I noticed he wasn't there.
Yeah. He was doing the pregame show. And I forget who was talking, and he was on camera, and he like strokes out on the air.
Oh my.
Yeah. Uh-huh. It's
He's pretty old too.
yeah, mid to late 60s. He's a legend though.
God, that reminds me of the time Ralph, I forget his last name, the Clippers guy. He was there for years. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Whatever. The Clippers play-by-play announcer for 40 years. He like actually had a stroke on a broadcast in like 2013. It was very scary. Logic Man, Josh Rosen is the answer for my franchise, I'd say. It's my pick.
I'm going to go Rick Del Gazio for the Giants, but
10 seconds.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
the home stretch of Miller and Moulton on this Monday. Thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com.
Monday Night Football tonight, your game, David. Arizona and New England. It is a big game for the Patriots. They can move into the 7 slot with a win tonight. Thinking back about our conversation with Pat Kerwin on Friday, Pat thought this was a scary spot for the Patriots because if they get beat, it's usually by an athletic running quarterback. And they've not had answers for quarterbacks like that. I like the Patriots tonight because I think that You and I are both just waiting for Arizona to finish the implosion.
Yes. And then Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury can, have their cage match. Kingsbury will get fired because it's much easier to fire the coach than the quarterback who you've signed to a 5-year extension, which is yet to kick in. And, the only question I believe with Arizona is whether or not the GM is finally sent packing too. He's been around for a while. And he's been able to fix this a couple different times. And whether or not they're going to stick with Keim or they're just going to go, we might as well change this whole thing. I mean, the guy in Tennessee did a good job building the Titans. He's available. A couple of other guys will become available. We can get somebody in here who's pretty good at this job.
If indeed that's the move they're looking to make.
Right. But yeah, Arizona, a bit of a mess. And they'll be on TV in 2 weeks again when they host the Tampa Bay Bucks in prime time on Christmas night. Arizona's been awful at home the last 2 years. Shockingly bad at home. Pretty good on the road. Bad at home. So Patriots a 1.5-point favorite tonight. Huge game for New England when you look at also their remaining schedule. You would think, Mark, they got to get this one.
I don't know how they don't get this one because Arizona is bad. I mean, I don't think they've beaten anybody with a winning record this year in their 4 wins. I think the quarterbacks, talk about someone that's regressed. Kyler Murray's regressed as a quarterback. So I think New England gets it done on the road tonight. The line's actually moved from 1.5 to 2. It's moved a 0.5 point up in favor of the Patriots. I think it was 1.5 on Friday. It's now 2.
I mean, think about it if you're New England. If you lose tonight, you go to 6-7. Never mind the fact that you're a game out of the final playoff spot. Okay, but your last 3 games of the year are the Bengals, the Dolphins, and the Bills. And even though Cincinnati and Miami have to come to you, I mean, there's all 3 teams that are better than you right now until proven otherwise. I mean, if you're the Patriots, you got to get tonight. If you're going to get to 10, you only have one more game you can lose. Can it really be at Arizona? Hell no. When you got Cincy, Miami, and Buffalo to end the year with, Buffalo on the road. And the looks of things is that Buffalo's going to be playing that game to win and be the 1 seed. There's hope on the other side that the Giants, who go to Philly the last week of the year, that Philly may have the number 1 seed all wrapped up, and they may literally sit all 22 of their starters.
But that's not going to be the case in the AFC.
Certainly doesn't look it.
Because even if somehow, if Cincinnati gets Buffalo, you're still playing between a 2 and a 3. I don't think anybody is quitting on the season, if you know what I mean.
So I think the only quote-unquote good team that the Patriots have a win over is the Jets. They actually swept the Jets.
That's if we're calling the Jets a good team.
Well, they're 7-6. I think we have to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Barely.
Proven otherwise.
Barely.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
I don't have a lot today, David. We start in 1787. Pennsylvania becomes the second state to ratify the Constitution. 1930. Wondering how many people knew this. The Baseball Rules Committee greatly revises the rule book. Balls bouncing into the stands are no longer home runs. They're now doubles.
Man, that's kind of like when we used to, play. And I don't know about you. Was it where the ball landed or where the ball finished?
Where it landed.
Okay.
Weeds was a home run. If it landed short of the weeds, it was not a home run.
Gotcha.
But I had to look up because obviously Ruth played when this rule was going on. According to what I found is that Babe Ruth supposedly never hit a bouncing home run.
Good for him.
1949, the American League rejects the spitball with a 7-1 vote. Love to know who the one was.
Gaylord Perry.
1965, Gale Sayers ties an NFL record for most touchdowns in a game with 6 in a 61-20 victory over the 49ers.
How many of those were return home runs? Because he used to return kicks. Or
It didn't list how they were scored.
Gotcha.
And I failed to look it up, so I don't know the answer to that question. Namath played his last game as a Jet today in 1976. Saturday Night Fever premiered today in 1977. By the end of the week, we were all picking an apple and put it in the basket. Today in 88, Rain Man premiered. Gino Toretto won his Heisman today in 92.
Oh, wow.
Pedro signed with the Red Sox today in 97. And RG3 won his Heisman 11 years ago. Frank Sinatra would have been 107 today.
Still crooning up in heaven.
Damn right. Bob Barker's 99. So have your pet spayed or neutered today.
Absolutely.
Bob Pettit is 90. Dionne Warwick is 82. Goaltender Billy Smith is 72. The great drummer Sheila E. is 65. Tracy Austin is 60. John Randall is 55. And Orlando Brown is 52. A couple of linemen for you there.
I wonder if John Randall's going to paint his face today for his 55th birthday. He used to wear that black war paint on his face. Loved interviewing Randall post-game. All right. He looked like, because half of it had sweated off and what have you. It looked like, a bad Halloween costume every time I interviewed him after games.
And that was today was the day when. What did I miss, David?
Well, for the record, by the way, Sayers 6 touchdowns, 4 rushing, 1 receiving, and 1 was a return.
Okay.
All right. And really, I was consumed with that. I don't know if there was, really. Smokey Robinson of the Miracles, Tears of a Clown goes number 1 today. Back in 1970, it was his first number 1.
I feel pretty good then.
That's a song that's, it fits that criteria. It's happy. It's peppy.
Something snappy.
Right.
Today in 1985, Manute Bol blocked 12 shots in a game. He set an NBA record for most block shots in a quarter with 8.
He was 7'7". I saw him play college ball at Hartford.
7'7", 148 at that time.
Exactly.
My
I outweighed him when I saw him at Hartford. I outweighed him, and I was just like finishing up high school.
My 5'5" dad peed next to him one time in a bathroom. Said it was the weirdest experience.
You could have kept that to yourself.
That's what you call TMI.
Right.
That's pretty funny. Come on.
Well, yeah, you just could have kept the action involved. You could have kept, maybe figured out
another way to assess that.
Right. It's that whole broadcasting education. Maybe you could have said, my dad met Manute Bol at a basketball game once. They were standing next to one another in line. So, there you go.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
Well, I know what the ugly is.
Felipe's dad stood next to Manute Bol peeing back in the day.
Joyce Dufal started college at Northern Illinois University in 1951. Then she met a man. She quit college. They got married in 1955. After he passed 5 years ago, she went back to school, and 71 years after she first enrolled, at 90 years old, walked across the stage to receive her diploma. Way to go, Joyce.
That's awesome.
It is. For the bad, we go to the Gen Zers, Felipe's generation, who are moving back home in record numbers. Right now, 25% of Gen Zers have moved back home with mom and dad. So feel good about yourself, Felipe. You haven't moved back home yet. Finally, the ugly, we go to Berlin, where police in Western Germany are looking for help in cracking a cold case. Authorities say 60 containers of bull sperm were stolen from a farm. It's unclear how it happened, but the precious cargo needs to be supercooled with liquid nitrogen at negative 196 degrees Celsius so it isn't spoiled. Anybody that has tips on how to recover the bull sperm should contact German authorities. And that, David, is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, 12/12/2022.
Obviously, Monday Night Football, we've gone over how important it is for the Patriots. It feels like a must. I mean, the schedule says it's a must. Tough to have faith in them if they can't beat 4-8 Arizona with the teams that they have remaining on their schedule. Meanwhile, if they win this game, they likely stay out here and they play the Raiders in Vegas. So, and I know the Raiders, everybody can beat everybody seemingly outside of the Houston Texans, but I mean, if you're going to make the playoffs this time of year, you got to beat the teams below 500, for goodness sakes.
Bunch of hockey going on tonight. Nothing involving the Florida teams. Edmonton is on the road at Minnesota, but the big game tonight, Seth's Devils taking on David's Rangers on the NHL Network. Pretty good hockey game right there.
Heat are in Indiana. And here's the shocker. Miami's 2 games behind the Pacers in the standings. Now, everybody expects the Pacers in the East, much like the Jazz in the West, to eventually, fall out of this whole playoff picture. But right now, both of them are above 500 and very much in the playoff picture.
But at some point, the Heat have to start playing some decent basketball. I mean, they're 3 games below 500 for crying out loud. And I know
Yes.
a good 2 weeks could fix this. I get it. But I've been waiting for those 2 weeks to come because they've been incredibly inconsistent.
Mark, they lost a home game to the Pistons. That's the moment where I'm now done with the Heat, giving them. I understand it's a long season. Did you see, by the way, the Nets played Indiana the other day without 9 regulars? 9. Their whole starting 5 didn't play. By the way, they won. But 9 guys didn't play for the Nets. 9, including Durant, Kyrie, the whole deal. I mean, you got to stop that if you're the commissioner. You've got to figure that out. That's ridiculous. Imagine you were a paying customer to go see that game. Went to see Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and what have you. And they weren't hurt. None of them were hurt. They were just sitting out. Come on. But back to the Heat. Losing home games to the Pistons.
And the Spurs.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm sorry. Now we need to talk. The whole culture thing, get it. I know Butler's been banged up. Yeah, okay, it all stopped. Adebayo's playing really well. Hero's playing really well. They're losing. We got to talk.
You want me to say it?
No.
The Heat are not a good basketball team.
Whoa.
Right now, of course. They are not a good basketball team. They can't rebound. And they are lost offensively.
So there you go.
When you rely on the 3, and that's today's game. We've talked about this, Felipe. If they have Jimmy Butler, who's a non-3 guy, and everything else seems to be revolving around outside the arc. That's where Hero loves to live. That's where Strus loves to live.
Yeah. Also, Strus gets cooked by everyone. So why don't we fix that? He's a cone. That's what he is on defense. He's a cone.
He's Felipe at the rec center is what he is.
Whoa.
And that's a problem.
I don't know about that.
You're talking trash the whole time, but trust me, we've seen your mobility, and that's just in the studio. So we can only imagine what it's like in space.
Yes, my 6 a.m. mobility.
Well,
You like the Patriots tonight?
Yes, I do. Because I also think, what will they do? They will keep him in the pocket. All right. We'll say this, though, and I know we don't have much time. Belichick and the Patriots have had a horrible time with mobile quarterbacks in the last year and a half. Look, remember what Justin Fields and the Bears did to them on a Monday night 6 weeks ago? They ran for 250.
Can Connor, along with Murray, do a similar thing tonight? Miller and Moulton, we'll find out and talk about it tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa